I've already taken them.
Mom,
you're fucking lucky.
Your reminder. Take your meds.
Oh, God, but yeah. Welcome. And have you taken your fucking meds? I haven't. You're lucky that I fucking did. But anyways, tonight's topic is the orange potato again. Because again, with his fucking Sharpie and the fucking terrorists, and you got all the, everybody's fucking losing their goddamn noodle, right? Hello! Welcome! But yeah, everybody's losing their fucking shit again because of the orange potato and that goddamn Sharpie. I think that, you see how he's got a whole fucking roll him sitting right beside him on his goddamn desk? What did he get, shares in fucking Sharpie? Probably does. Probably orange potato said we have to make Sharpies in America. And if you don't make your Sharpies in America, we're gonna fucking turf them too. So they, probably, march themselves right over there to get fucking, their, everything done, right? Hi, Alberta girl, how you doing tonight? Thanks for coming in. But again, like, the orange potato and his fucking terrorists. Does he not realize that it's not really going to hurt us bad? In fact, car prices are maybe coming down a bit. We have to fucking play with their fucking stupidity. We have beautiful cars up here. All of them are 100% Canadian. I'll buy one, and you can fucking take your American made and stuff it right up your fucking orange potato's ass. Welcome. This is always, a little bit controversial. It's 18 and over. There will be swearing. I've been looking at Ford F-150s all day. I actually talked to the dealership today. I'm going to trade my little shit box in, and I'm going to be driving a fucking big fat Ford F-150. Whoop! Or, I'd want a truck. Happy 36 to Melissa. Happy birthday! But yeah, again, like I said, it's, it's a time to be sticking it together. Our elbows have got to be up. And if you, did you see the union? Like, the union was like, one of the unions, I think, in Ontario. They're all got elbows up t-shirts, and they're basically saying, like, fuck you. The auto workers are going to start standing up and say, fuck you. You want to take our jobs? You want to elbows up, you fuckers? And even that fucking mealy mouth fucking Polyev can't even elbows up. He don't dare. He don't dare use that, especially after, you get Tamara Leach. Oh, he did this stupid thing. You fucking conservatives are fucking schmatsies, and that's the end of it. That's just the way it is. Anyways, so you got the orange potato, you got the fucking other idiot, and he's in British Columbia. Oh, for all of us British Columbians too, April the 8th, our carbon taxes go right out the fucking window too. More money in your pockets by an NDP government, no less. Because, it was a conservative government that brought that in 2008, right? Boop, there goes your bubble. And that's a fact. So if you want facts here, that's what you're going to get, Jack. Anyways, because I'm kind of full of fucking face today. And I was tired driving home from the gym. I was like, oh my God, I'm tired. You know what helps me because I'm an ADHDer? Fucking chocolate. Candy. Get some sugar into you, bitch, because that's what you need to wake the fuck up. It ain't caffeine that ain't going to help you. So we're chewing to keep me awake. But yeah, still, we got a whole bunch of stuff. So Carney's already had to fly back to Ottawa because, the orange potato, and the tariffs 25% and all this shit. Again, he has, the leg up at least because at least he's a prime minister already, so he's going to have to. But then you see the other two mealing around, old dog meat out there, shaking hands. People are walking past him. They're getting off work. It's like, fuck you, dude. I don't want to talk to you. I don't even know who you are. But no, I'm tired. I just worked 12 hours. Fuck off. Maybe plan an event. We might show up. And then you got, Poiliev's, with all these little, rallies all across. They were saying they're like 2,500 fucking people. Same with Smith, right? Her big crowd of, yeah, rah, rah, rah. All vetted. If you're not a conservative and don't check the right boxes, you don't get let in. That's a schmatzy. Authoritarian. Maybe you should look that up. Authoritarian. It's Google. It's free. Yeah, I have to eat chocolate to stay awake. Candy. Anything sweet and sugary because of the attention deficit, right? So yeah, that's kind of the way it goes. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for the likes. Please share and follow Beaver Politics and Beaver Network. We're all a little bit controversial and a bit radical sometimes. And tonight we got a little bit feistiness and radical because the orange potato pissed me off again. And that's exactly why we need to stick together as Canadians and not fucking listen to that fucking mealy mouth Polio. He's just a fucking... His name's not even fucking Pierre. It's Jeffrey. Jeffrey. Does he look like a Jeffrey? And then it's boots, not suits. What the fuck? Somebody's like, what does that mean? Okay, so Jeffrey grew up in Calgary, Alberta. As a nerd, right? He was a 14-year-old selling Reform Alliance Party memberships at 14. Can you imagine how many friends that kid had? He was the kid that was the hall fucking monitor that would rat your ass out if you fucking didn't do what you were. That was Jeffrey. And then he went to college and couldn't find a girlfriend. So then he became Jeffrey the Incel. You do realize that he was having an affair with his, campaign sidekick manager Robin for years. Then all of a sudden his little Venezuelan wife popped up. The fuck was that? He's got a fucking handshake like a fucking wet fucking piece of fucking Alfredo with the fucking crappiest chicken yeah. Ugh. No, I don't think he had any friends because he was a fucking know-it-all, arrogant little puke back then. He came from, he's adopted. Oh, okay, that's great. And he had parents that were, teachers, so I imagine they were pretty half decent. But his stance on LGBTQ2S when his adopted father's part of that community still maintains a friendship with his father. Well, that sounds swell. Yeah, Carney will win easily. He's got hands down, and we've never seen the momentum in this area. Let's put it this way. There's a map of the ridings. And before we were really dark blue because we had unwinnable riding, right? All conservative for the last 3 campaigns. We've had the same fucking mealy mouth piece of shit fucking ex-RCMP fucking parachute from White Rock fucking as our MP. He's the only MP that's ever asked me for a list of questions to go sit in his office to have a meeting with him. I have sat in MP's offices from coast to coast to coast. When I was an MJ activist. He's the first and only MP that's ever asked me for a list of questions. Anyways, our little blue has gotten a little lighter. Hi, Smarsh. So it's leaning a little more not so fucking conservative. And the momentum we've had in our riding association, the numbers, I thought they're 17 times more than they were 3 years ago. Put that in your fucking pipes and smoke it, fuckers. And I've got people coming into the store saying, do we have a candidate? I'm going, yeah, we do. We're just going to have to wait for a bit because we have to greenlight them. And that takes some time, right? We have to get some signatures, blah, blah, blah. That's how it always goes. But yeah, you should see people going, thank God, really? For the first time. And I've been in 3 campaigns in this fucking area. It's pretty fucking incredible. Pretty fucking incredible. I love you too, Smarsh. I'm just kind of, this is just me. And I'm kind of take it or fucking leave it. And I've always been like this. That's why I actually had a friend that I hadn't seen since grade 6 show up at the store tonight. Why so late? Because this is when my time slot is for the Beavers. I decided to do late night. Because I work till 9 and I'm usually up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And we figured the numbers in the afternoon weren't so fucking great. So we're going to try this slot and see if we can bring some numbers up and get some more people to come on in. And it's ladies' night. Don't you know? Thursday night is ladies' night at every nightclub across the country. And it's ladies' night. Oh, what a night. So, when I was younger, and I worked at a transport company, every Thursday night, we would go out and get smash drunk. This is when I drank. Right? And I mean, up till the bars were closing, and then we were in Alberta, so it was 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Yeah, so, yeah, right, ladies' nights at the Goose or wherever, right, honkers. So we'd sit up, we'd close the bars down, and then go to work the next day, hung the fuck right over all of us, and try and dispatch trucks. I worked for a trucking company at that time. H&R Transport, to be fair. Also, another story where, one of my lumpers actually sent me a bottle of Jamaican rum because they were in Jamaica and he thought it would be a very great present. This is after we had a zero tolerance for drugs and alcohol after the RCMP officer had been unalived. Anyway. So, zero tolerance, right? It showed up on the front desk, broken. and leaking Jamaican rum all over Kathy's desk. And oh, was Kathy mad. I got called into Father's office. It's like, hey man, I didn't know the hell that they were doing. I didn't know they were sending me. It's a gift. Like, it's my fault somebody sent me rum in the mail. I can't. Anyways, I was reprimanded for somebody sending me a gift in the mail. Like, anyways, yeah. Yeah, hi Kathy. Like, basically, but this, I'm all swelling again tonight. Like, I took my meds. It's Thursday. I always take my meds on Thursdays, right? And my arthritis is starting to, you can see the little red dot starting, and it's swelling. So it feels like I broke my wrist again. Woohoo! It never seems to fail. And I could be using a different method of getting this into my body, and I still take tablets, and they want me to try something else, and I'm a phobia of these things that they stick into you to take blood out of you. I can't. I will go get the vaccines. Yes, I do that, but I can't do that thing once a week with a epi thing. It's a good thing that I'm not diabetic, because I'd probably end up not doing so good with that. Anyways, it's a rheumatoid arthritis medication. It's methotrexate is what it is. And then, yeah. And I don't absorb it so well, so I flare a little more than I should. My doctor's always giving me shit. And I'm like, don't worry about it, I'm fine. I'm good. Don't worry, I'm good. I'm always good. Just don't tell anybody. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm on, not capsules, they're actually pills. But, yeah, they probably are. I was anemic as a baby, so they were pulling, like, out of my toes and out of my ankles, like, so I don't know if it's from that, from being a baby, and, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a thing, but yeah, I'm watching this thing go, whoop, swelling up, and it's good times, but that's alright, I'm used to it, I'm used to pain. Yeah, you're alive when you're when you're in pain all the time. You ain't dead. That's for sure. I'll tell you what. So this is my Christmas present from my boss. It's a great big honking Hello Kitty cup, and it's full. of juice. I can't use Voltaren because of the methotrexate. I use something called Icy Pot, which a friend of mine makes. It's got a MJ compound in it. I also use the A53 type 5 arthritis. I've seen that one, but I have to use like an infrared heated weighted heating pad. But the heat sometimes makes it worse. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, sometimes heat just doesn't help. Like, sometimes it really does, and sometimes it really doesn't. And it's like I said, I just roll with it. I got, heavy duty painkillers too that I don't take because I don't want to be hooked on the hydromorphine. And that's just the way it goes. So we roll with it, and we do a little bit of this and that, and that helps a lot too sometimes. But I can't do that when I'm on this. So I'm just gonna sit here and wither and try and make everybody laugh. Because I'm funny looking, right? At least you can laugh at that. I've got enough, So again, we got the orange potato and the Sharpie pen, and we got Carney running back to Ottawa, and we got, Pauliev running around British Columbia. Like, I wish he would have stayed the fuck out of British Columbia. Like, stay the fuck at home. Like, we don't like you here. Well, some of them do, though. Ugh. But again, another red herring. Gun control. You're never gonna lose your guns, okay? How many years have you been hearing about, gun control, and liberals are gonna come get your pew-pews and the pew-pews and all? They're not. Alright? They're just not. Who, what, where, and why? Who, what, Addicted Bear? I don't know, I might have missed it right over my head. I talk too fast sometimes, and I, say things I can't even fucking remember what I said. Stinging nettle tea. Yeah, I heard that too. But then you have to find the stinging nettles. I just got here and I feel way behind. You haven't missed much. Just me complaining about arthritis. And again, the orange potato and the terrace. So you haven't missed much. I kind of go back around and around because I know that some people are just coming in sometimes. So, like I said, we're just talking, the usual BS with the mealy mouth and, you can't even say anything about Jug Meat because he's just like he's just not there. And Elizabeth May too, like, I'd love to see them get more seats, but that would mean they'd have an actual policy that was like some sort of fucking cohesivity to it. again, we have never seen the momentum for the Liberals ever like this. Even 2015 with Justin's Mania and all the stuff with JT. This momentum, we've never had members like this. We've never had the program or the progression of membership. We've never had. It's crazy. And I was talking to the former candidate tonight, actually, before I came on, and even she says she's been involved in this like arena. Like, we're a candidate. She ran 2 years. She ran 8 years. Okay, so she's been involved for about 20 years. She wasn't involved with Don Johnson, so that was 20. What year was that? I moved here. 2014. So the 2015 election was Don Johnson, right? That's when JT won. And then the next two elections, Robin ran in both those as a candidate for the Liberals. And we didn't have this. We didn't have volunteers. We had fucking nothing. We had to fucking, like, it was ridiculous. It was that bad. Yeah, UBI, but UBI is a good thing. But the Liberals, too, we've been looking at that for a while, too. See, that's the thing, dealing with dental and healthcare, with the healthcare plan. Okay, so back in 1997, the Liberals put policies in when John Chrétien was in for a health plan. That health plan included dental, pharmacare, eye care, and hearing aids. This is a different Liberal government now. And Mark Carney believes in the UBI because he knows how much money it would save the government. Economically, a UBI would save our government trillions of dollars. And it would cut out the fraud. Like all of the people that, are on EI right now that are working under the table for cash. There would be no more EI. There would be no social services. There'd be no more disability. There'd be none of that. All that money costs our government trillions and trillions of dollars in these social programs, which are great social programs. But they also have abilities to be frauded. So with the UBI, everybody would get it. Everybody. And that would just be the way it is, right? And then if nobody can live on that, so it would give people the ability, I gotta try and do this puzzle piece for some reason. So everybody then would have the ability to what the heck? Okay, they're dragged in. So then everybody, even on disability. So right now, if you're on AISH or you're on PWD or any of these, you can only make a certain amount of money or they start clawing it back. The Alberta government will say, so the federal government now is going to give a lousy $200 to people for disability, which have been lobbied about for years, right? For decades. They're finally going to jar you loose with $200 lousy fucking dollars. And fuckface Danielle Smith next door is going to claw it back. So you know what disability does for people with disabilities? It puts them in a tax bracket that they can never get out of. It leaves them behind. It makes it so they can never get ahead. They can never save money. They can never take a vacation. They can never have a car. They get nothing. They're left to live like second-class citizens because they're disabled. Is that fair? It's not. Why should they not be able to go out and get a job and make a couple $1,000s a month to add to that $2,000 a month and get ahead? Instead of the government clawing it back because they don't think they're worth more? That's bullshit. They're just as fucking able-bodied, and if they want to go up and make $2,000 and still collect PWD, they should be able to. Not have the government take it back. Same like fucking Smith next door. It's not your fucking money. You're stealing money from people that are disabled and low-income. You're stealing money from fucking low-income disabled people. The fuck is wrong with you? Oh yeah, you're the orange potato in a skirt. We already figured out you've already done and implemented half of the orange potatoes fucking legislation in Alberta. And fucking Albertans too stupid to fucking see it. Oh, we're just gonna vote for her again. Oh, Tamara Lee, is she running too? I can't even. Boots instead of suits. Get a new slogan, PP, because that one's fucking really gross. Yeah, you're right. Worthy and unworthy. We're better than you. We're the grass is greener people. We're always going to do this. We're going to flip houses and make more money. We're going to get a better car. We're always going to be looking for a new wife because this one might not work out so well. So we call them the grass is greener people. And that's exactly, they're disposable fucking with no substance, no soul, and no fucking moral compass. Schmetzy! Gender dysphoria is like telling a schizophrenic. What's this? That's your opinion. And you know what? There's nothing... Gender dysphoria. So that means that how somebody feels isn't valid, right? If they feel like they're not in their own skin and they don't feel right about themselves, that means you get to decide, right? You can't even compare it because you'll never know how it feels. You explain to me why you're heterosexual. You explain that to me. You give me an explanation as to why you're heterosexual. I'm a fucking atheist, dude. A fucking atheist. So again, explain to me why you're heterosexual. Explain it. You tell me why you're heterosexual. I'm waiting. Would you like to come up and explain to me why you're heterosexual? Explain it. I want to know. I want to know why you are. Is it how you feel? Or is that with the ideology that you were shoved down your throat? Or did somebody tell you that you could wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden be gay? Because that's a fucking lie, dude. So you sit there, mister, and you now come on. Explain to me why you're heterosexual. Explain it. Come on. We're waiting. No, biology and science, right? You may be born male gendered, but sexuality and gender are different. So explain to me why you're heterosexual. Explain it. Come on, we're waiting. No, that's not it at all. Explain to me why you're heterosexual. Explain to me. Explain to me. Explain it. I'm not picking away at anything. I want you to explain to me why you're heterosexual. Because I'm a straight woman, right? I'm a straight heterosexual fucking woman. I'm a she, and I don't identify as anything but a she. And I can't explain to you why I don't like women, or why I like men and not women, or why I feel the way I do. No more than they can explain to me what they do, right? So you fucking sit here and explain to me why. No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with that. You're fucking deluded and a fucking waste of time. You're a narcissist. Narcissistic and resentful of what? Of worldviews that are correct. So you're the one that's going to sit here and tell me what's right and wrong? For your worldviews. So you're a schmatzy. You're a straight up fucking bigoted schmatzy. Welcome to the fucking... Welcome schmatzy. Your hatred is disgusting. Yep, it sure is. And I will point that out, that you still haven't explained to me why you're heterosexual. Science, word salads, all kinds of fucking shit. But where's your explanations? Why? Why are you fucking heterosexual? Explain it. Wasn't expecting this fucking for too late night, were you? But I will tell you. You explain to me why you're heterosexual. I'm waiting. I'm still fucking waiting. Because you can't. You absolutely fucking can't. So, you just embarrassed yourself in front of everybody. Because you can't explain why you're heterosexual. No more than anybody that's LGBTQS can explain why they fucking are. Just saying. Anyways, that's the end of that topic, because now that you've got me riled to the point, and it will happen again and again and again. What? Wait, it says it's wrong? Yeah, of course it does. You're not allowed to be an LGBTQ if you're a schmatzy. You can, Smarsh. Absolutely. And thanks, I didn't know. See my time a lot. I don't have time to fucking look.
Well, one thing before we get off that topic, the reason why I'm heterosexual is because I was born this way.
No, that's right. But again,
The re-
you can't explain why you were born that way. You can't explain why you don't like
it's my
women.
genetics. It's in my biology, my DNA, my brain chemicals, everything. My sex and gender align. That's basically how I can explain it to you.
Right?
Sorry, it was just, yeah.
That's what I was waiting for him to say. Thanks, March.
You're welcome.
But again, that's the thing. If you don't have anything constructive to say, you just want to sit here and, slur and talk nasty about people and hate, then you're not welcome here. This is an equitable and inclusive place to be. Safe. And if I lose my shit on you, you probably deserved it. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Anyways, well, I'm not. You know me well enough to know that I'm not sorry. If I say something, it's usually because you deserved it. Again, when it comes to
Right?
inclusivity, right? Like we want to have a safe space for everybody, but I'm not going to have somebody sitting in here talking smack about people that are just like you and me. We just don't, we don't align on sexuality, but we're still the
Mm-hmm.
same. Just because I don't ally
Our,
with,
you know what?
won't ally for
It,
you.
it's just like our makeup, our DNA, our brain, and our sex align. Our brain is the way we are, and sometimes we just can't help it.
Well, and exactly, and again too, like it comes down to mental health issues, the way But again, we have indoctrination. So again, you have the fact
Why
that
do you
some
think?
people that that are born into a family, religion wise, supremacy, that's indoctrination. You're not born to hate anybody or anything.
No, you were taught hate. You were taught that you were taught hate at a very young age. Okay,
That just go
it,
away, guy, because it's
yeah,
not a mental
mm,
disorder.
mm.
You're not understanding. It's not gender dysphoria. Schizophrenia is an actual like psychological issue that you can have medication to take that will actually help you treat that disease in your brain. It's a brain disease. Gender dysphoria is not a disease, dude. It's the way people are born. It's called chromosomes. Do you know what that
Well, me,
means?
no, no, no. I want him to answer this one question. Do you know what the DSM-5 is? If you don't know what the DSM-5, I bet you would be really, really helpful if you read that because nowhere near is anyone on the 2SLGBTQIA plus actually on the DSM-5.
You're right. Christianity is a mental disorder. Religion's a mental disorder too. Maybe we can give you some medication. You see, there's a difference. Schizophrenia, you can actually have some medication. Depression, anxiety, all these mental health disorders, right? But you can't give somebody who's LGBTQ2S medication to fix anything because there's nothing to fix. Yeah, you're right. Schmatzy. You can go back to your rock, troll, because we're not interested in anything you have to say. You can sit here and go on and on. We don't care. Anyways, so what else is going on with the orange potato today? Let's see. Oh, we got a Toronto Maple Leafs game tonight too. I guess they're gonna lose again.
Of course.
In fact, the fans of the Maple Leafs are not very happy with them, and neither the
Well,
Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are having issues too. Apparently, they won't jar loose. So,
mhm.
thanks. You have a good sleep, Trudy. Thanks for coming in. We really appreciate all the support. I love it. I know this is a late show, and I don't expect, I expect it to get better as we, get going and continue on, right? But again, this is late night, kind of like Colbert, where we're gonna sit here and trash the crap out of people, like the orange potato and Pierre Polyev. Uh, Polyev, yeah, they don't even know how to say it half the time. I don't even know. And then the twat next door. We'll just call her the twat next door. And you have a lot to say. She's in your goddamn. She's your MP, Schmarsh. Or your
No, am
MLA.
I? No, she's my premier.
But she's also your MLA. She won in your riding. She should be representing your riding. And she's out there representing the Americans instead.
Yeah, and the people that want to make my province American. No, no, I get a yucky feeling every time I hear that.
Right. Well, that's your problem. You're a conservative. You're a schmaltzy. You just admitted it.
You
You're
just
pro.
admitted you're a
Then
schmaltzy.
you don't fit in with the conservatives. That's for fucking sure. And liberals are not. I'm a 40-year-old liberal that had a baby, or I'm a 55-year-old liberal that has 4 kids, had a baby at 40. Don't speak for liberals because you're not one of us. You don't know. You don't know anything about us. You're a conservative. You have no fucking clue what it's like to be us. So, fuck off. You think we're nice? We're not.
Oh, I am embarrassed to be from Alberta.
Me too, Smart. Me
I
too.
feel even worse for my kid because he was born here.
My kids are just fine. They are, and they're liberals too. And they all voted for Mark Carney. How does that grab you?
Yeah.
Why would I tell them to do anything like that? That would be their choice. If they came to me and
Okay.
said that, that
Mm,
would be their choice, not mine.
okay. Okay, buddy. Here's the thing. You don't change genders. Oh my God.
You know, you just don't even waste your breath. I think we should just mute him. Can we get a mod to mute this
You
person?
can mute him as well yourself.
Oh, I know I can, but I just no. Why would I?
You can't blame
That's
them.
where you're delusional, bud. You see, children will decide for themselves who they fucking are. And then they will tell you, right? And if you don't like it, that's, your problem. But my agenda is none of your fucking business. I don't have an agenda. You see, children are children, people are people. Live and let live, dude. Period.
Oh my
Mind your own
God.
fucking business. Why does it matter to you what anybody else does? Does it affect your life personally? If it doesn't, then live and let live. Mind your own fucking business. What does it matter to you what somebody else is doing in their bedroom? Do
No,
you want them?
ma'am,
Do you want
ma'am,
people in your
ma'am,
bedroom telling
ma'am,
you what to do?
ma'am. It's live and let learn.
Whatever. It's live and let live because we got to live here, and learning it comes along with living. Smarch, you got to grow.
I know, I know.
But
Just
again,
being a
like this
smart
guy
ass.
just this person. I wouldn't even call him a human because he has got a moral compass of a fucking flea.
Cassandra, I am a Albertan, and I'm ashamed to be Albertan
Don't be
because
ashamed.
I was never brainwashed by big oil. So don't say that. Not all Albertans were um whatever by big oil.
Well, let's
So
put it this way: Big Oil is owned by most Americans and Chinese companies, right? It's not even Canadian owned half the time anymore. All those orphaned wells in Alberta that were orphaned wells were paid for by the federal government to the Alberta government already. And then she wants to make a whole new orphan well, foundation and make jobs. The federal government already paid to have those done. Hi, Sirius, how you doing tonight? So that's another conundrum. Like I said, there's so much controversy and so much corruption going on over there. I just hope the RCMP actually do something about it. We
we're
got some.
calling for an independent.
What's that?
We're calling for an independent vote investigation.
Yeah, that would be good. Welcome, Mrs. How you doing tonight?
Hey,
I was
I'm just in
talking.
bed actually. I didn't realize you were bringing me up into the box.
Oh yeah, but
Oh,
I saw that you
thankfully
were.
my camera's not on.
Oh, I saw you had. I thought you had requested because I had some guest requests up here. So hi, Sherry. But if you're in bed, you
That's
don't
okay.
have to stay if you don't want, honey.
Yeah, I just wanted to drop in though because I know you're on late at night and not everybody's. Well, I know I'm not up very often, but anyway, we're feeling the beaver love tonight, so.
Oh, well, us beavers got to stick together, right? And again, we got to be inclusive to everybody that wants to come up. I'm willing to have conversations with people that if they've got conversations that are worth having. I'm not going to argue with somebody who's going to sit here and talk to me about trans people that they don't understand, right? I just not. I'm just not. I'm not into having to teach them genetics.
Well, you do have a crayon for a reason.
Yeah, I do actually. Where is my crayon? Oh, I got a purple marker right here. So we still have the
There you
purple
go.
marker.
That's blue.
Folks. No, this is purple, and it smells like grape. It's one of those Mr. Sketchy smellers
It looks
because
blue to me.
the kids had to have it. Well, it's probably these lights in here because I got all these day happy lights to keep me happy.
I love how I said hi
Do
to
you
Sherry B and she's just ignoring me. It's
To
fucking
who?
do
wonderful.
you find those lights make a difference, Pixie?
I actually I am noticing it because before I would sit in a dark room all day, And now with the lights and stuff on, I actually get up and do stuff and I'm a little more motivated. So I'm finding a bit of a difference. I think my son is too because he seems to be. I've been taking him to the gym every day. He's not even wanting to do anything. So the pediatrician suggested it for his depression because, yeah, he's got some depression that goes along with having long COVID for 3 years. And the pediatrician suggested it. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. And I find it is helpful. So I got a lot of bright lights in here to keep me awake.
I've been, my dermatologist wants me to use light therapy for my psoriasis.
That's a good one too. Yeah, absolutely. I
But
well,
the light that would do the trick, it's like $900.
you can
Like
get
just a ridiculous amount of money
you
for
can
a
get
particular UV ray or something.
you can get those
Anyway,
little
I'm not getting it.
Yeah, no, you can get those LED UV boxes that we grow plants under. They have the same
Mm-hmm.
spectrum of red light that helps.
Oh,
And you can get them for about $120 on Amazon because you need the red spectrum, right? The red UV for your psoriasis, right? So you can use those LED lights, and they're not that expensive. I will send you I'll send you some information tomorrow about them
would you? I'd appreciate that actually.
because
I was looking. They gave the derm. It's. I can't think of it right now, but the dermatologist had written down what kind of UV,
yeah,
and it was just no matter where I was looking, it was very expensive for that light, for that particular kind of light.
we saw some that were almost $700 for the happy lights too, and I got these ones for $40 on Amazon.
Okay.
Look who
Okay.
joins.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
Welcome.
But yeah, so again, like I said, we were talking about the orange potato and the tariffs and stuff earlier because of the fact that it was just throwing everything into turmoil again with PP out there, with his mealy mouth bullshit. And then you've got, Carney running back to Ottawa because he's the prime minister. At least he's got a leg up in that. But again, the orange potato and his tariffs. And we've got the car, manufacturers with their elbows up t-shirts. I saw that tonight, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. And
Mm-hmm.
we were talking to you about our Kootenai Columbia Riding Association is like unbelievable. We've got so much more momentum this election than we've had in the last 3 that I've been involved in. And our little blue circle, and you're British Columbia too, anybody in British, our little dark blue circle that, basically said we were going to be 100% conservative has turned light blue.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And
where I'm from, up in the north here in British Columbia, we just haven't had anything but conservatives for like 50 years, right? And it just drives me insane that the same people, because I mean, I've been living up north for 40 years, and it's the same people complaining about the same problems, electing the same conservatives repeatedly,
right, exactly. And
and
half those,
wondering what's the problem.
and they're complaining, and half those people probably don't even vote. I found that out like
Yeah.
when I went out to Saskatchewan to pick up my beef, right? And found out they're 50, they're both in their 50s and have never fucking voted in their lives. Yet they sure have a lot of fucking opinions, a lot to say. And I'm like, you've never fucking cast a ballot? And you're sitting here talking to me about fucking what they should be doing? Well, I pay taxes. I said, I don't give a shit how much money you pay in taxes. You're also
You
an
know what?
incorporated farm. Listen to this one. You're also an incorporated farm, and they have paid themselves $19,000 a year, and they're multimillionaires. I'm not kidding you.
What do you mean? Who's paid themselves?
They have a 7.5 diamond cat. Like it's an incorporated ranch. They're multimillionaires. They have
Okay.
sold several properties over the years. They paid off all their bills. They had 2 farms. We lived on one. They had another one. But they're an incorporation. So the incorporation, the farm pays them $19,000 a year each, which is below poverty, like right along the poverty. So they got the whole time they had kids, they got the maximum child tax credit. They get all the benefit. They collect GST. I don't collect GST. I'm not allowed to. They pay the minimum income tax because they're paying themselves $19,000 a year each. Combined, that's less than $50,000 a year. So they're just fucking, and they're like, yeah, and they're multimillionaires. And this is how people get fucking rich in Canada. Just
I'm
saying.
still waiting.
And they
I'm
let
still
you,
waiting for. I'm still
and
waiting
it's
for
not
the
so much.
government.
Go ahead, Smarsh.
I'm still waiting for the government to tell me that I don't have to pay taxes anymore.
Why would they tell you that?
It's a joke because everybody tells me I don't pay taxes,
Well,
right?
here's the thing. I know. And I don't mind paying taxes because, like I said, right down to the water that comes out of our taps is paid for by our tax dollars, right? We wouldn't have like water treatment plants and all these things that wouldn't be paid for, our roads or bridges, like all the things that we need, schools, hospitals. We wouldn't have any of these things if we didn't pay taxes, right? And in reality, 15% income tax is not really a lot of income tax to be paying. But you think that, the richer ones that actually should be paying more income tax, they're not. The people with fucking money, incorporated, we're talking doctors, lawyers, farmers, anybody with an incorporated, they're fucking paying themselves minimum amounts of money, paying zero fucking hardly any income tax, and reaping in the fucking benefits. And that's how they keep their fucking money. Why is it missing misinformation? What BS misinformation is it? I heard it straight from the fucking rancher's face. So you're telling me that he's fucking lying to me? How he's gotten around all these fucking taxation loopholes for fucking 30 years? And why he's a multi fucking millionaire? Because he hasn't had to pay fucking income tax and buys cows and all kinds of shit and fucking. You have no idea how fucking shady and fucking corrupt people really are. Then you got a fucking rose pair of glasses on, don't you? Oh yeah, the First Nations do pay income tax, and they unless they work on reserve, right? They still pay GST and stuff if unless they have status. Because my husband has no status, and we pay GST. We pay for fucking everything, and he pays $39,000 in income tax. Okay, the two of us this year paid $40,000 in income tax. That's more than most people fucking make. But that's how much we paid in income tax this year: $40,000 fucking dollars. Not kidding. You know how much money we got back? Not even a quarter. And I made too much money to even be able to be eligible for my disability tax credit because I was $400 over the eligibility. So you want to talk about getting fucked over by income taxes? There you go. And
Oh, I can tell you. We had, I don't know if you guys went through it with your kids living at home when when the carbon tax credit, whatever, first came out. And I'm not against carbon tax credit, but it was like where it was only if you made under so much money you got it. We had two girls. Our two daughters were living at home. Didn't pay anything for living at home. And both of them got full credit for it. And my husband and I got nothing. So like every 3 months, our girls would get like a couple $100 each. Yeah. I'm like, duh.
We moved back to BC in 2014. I've never seen a BC carbon tax rebate ever. I haven't seen a GST check. And I mean, I had zero income for years, right? I stayed at home with our son, and I did some, other activities that, I sold some MLM or tried to for a bit just to kind of make some money. Sold eggs because I had chickens and that kind of stuff. So not much, but we still get I get $85 for a child tax benefit.
But it is here, like in Canada. I don't know other countries either, but in Canada, it's like if you get married, it's a punishment. Basically, if you I was a single mom, I was getting my child tax, which was like when I got my child tax, it was not a lot. Like I was getting like a couple $100 a month.
Yeah, before they actually
whatever. And I got like GST had just first started when like my kids were a little bit older, and then I got married, lost all of it.
Like, gone. I get $85 for child tax credit, and this month I didn't get anything at all. So I still have to phone them and wonder what the fuck happened to my $85 this month because it's not July yet. I got my income tax refund today. We filed 2 weeks ago. It came in within 10 days. We had a refund today in our bank account. But yeah, I get $85 a month for my son because he's over the age of 12. And that's the thing, that kids cost more when they're older, not younger. But they cut you back after they turn a certain age. He's 15 now, but because of our combined income, we get $85 a month for our kid for child tax. If you're low income, you get $500 a month per kid.
Well, that's really weird that you say that, right? Because I'm on disability, and I claimed my kid before he was 18, and I was getting 800, just about 800, just like a little over 800. But like that had to pay for food, groceries, right? But no,
and because my husband's a high earner, we also pay a lot of income tax. Like I said, he paid $39,000 himself in income tax this year, and he didn't get much back. He got $3,000 of that back. Out of $39,000, he got $3,000 back.
Wow.
Hi, Jen Jen. I know, right? And that's like, again, and then you got people that are bitching about taxes. I'm not bitching about taxes. I don't mind
No.
paying them. I don't also not paying
Well,
$1,200 a month for my kid to go to school either. My husband had hernia surgery. It didn't cost us $15,000 for him to have surgery. So there are things that you the good with the bad, right?
so disability for rent with me, because I live in subsidized housing, I pay 30% of my check every month. So it's like $288.
Before, when I was like when I lived in Alberta, I was living in Lethbridge housing. I was working for full
That's
time.
is that like the capital housing? There was Edmonton housing, and then
Yeah.
like all the housing. Like yeah, that's I lived in that when
Yeah.
I first like when my kids were little, like when my son was little, we moved into that too. It's like 30%. It was 30% your wage or your rent was 30% of your income at the time or something like that. Yeah.
I was making like the welfare topped out with like a single mom with three kids at
Mhm.
$1,058 back
Yep.
then, right? We're talking
Yep.
like we were,
Hmm.
and I was working full time, and I would have to still. I wasn't making $1,058 a month. I have to jump through fucking hoops, send in my pay stubs and all this other stupidity to get a lousy 300 fucking dollars. But I was working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, raising three kids in housing, and still
And you
having to
weren't
pay.
allowed to own a new car. If you could get a car or anything, it had to be like a ute. Like you were only allowed to
My
have so
parents, my parents,
much.
well, my
Yep.
parents gave me their car and kept it insured in their name because they
Yep.
wouldn't even let me have a car. I
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
even allowed to
how here too. That's how mine worked when I did it. Like when my kids were little, and we lived in. It was called Edmonton Housing. Now it's called Capital Regional Housing or something. The
yeah,
Oh
rest low
God.
income housing is what it was.
yeah.
And you weren't allowed to own. Like I had to. My sister bought a van, like a minivan, um, and insured it for me because like you can't own it. Like you were only allowed to have so much. But
Yeah, I know it's ridiculous, and I mean, I know it's not there to be a support. I know it's there to be like a social net, and I get that, and we don't want people living on it. But then make it so that like they have now with $10 daycare, but even with subsidized daycare, with my like when I was working, I was still paying $90 a month per kid, and I had three kids in daycare. So when you're making minimum wage or $6 an hour, I guess is what I was making back then, or maybe $9 because I was working H&R. So minimum wage was $6. I was making I think $9.50 working as a dispatcher, pallet control, lumper manager, and T-check manager at a fucking trucking company. I'd ran four departments, making $9.50 a fucking hour, trying to raise three kids living in housing. It sucked, right?
I lucked out. I actually got a job at a daycare that allowed me to bring my kids and let my kids go to the daycare for free.
Oh,
She
that's
was
the
so
best.
nice. It was like like it wasn't because there wasn't subsidy when like my kids are like in their 30s, like
Mine
20s,
are,
late
yeah,
30s.
my oldest one's 32.
Yeah.
And that's why I stayed home with Taven because it was going to cost as much money as I was making to pay a stranger to raise my son. And my husband, I mean, he was roughnecking and drilling. He wasn't making the money he's making now, but he still made enough that we could afford for me to stay home. We weren't living high on the hog. We were paying bills and getting by, but I didn't have to go out and work and have a stranger raising my son. And my other three, I didn't have that opportunity. But then my ex was so violent that my mom and dad ended up raising my older kids because I had no stability for them. So
My ex, like my kid's dad, he went to the courts and told them that he had spina bifida and that by the time he was 40, he was going to be in a wheelchair, so he couldn't pay. And his mom went in and backed him up. They reduced his child support for three kids to $250 a month.
welcome to my nightmare.
And then,
My,
oh,
and he
he
didn't pay
lied,
that either. And
he
then mine
lied.
never paid that either. Like I and when he died, okay, because mine passed away a couple of years ago, now. But I couldn't clock the kids in their 30s. But when all was said and done, with the kids all turned 18, he owed me $93,000 in back child support.
Oh,
Had
mine,
no driver's
I
license.
got a lawyer after my kids were a little bit older. I got a lawyer and he was like an absolute a-hole, but a good a-hole. And he's like, "Oh, we'll go back after him for 8 years of child support for three kids." And I
Yeah.
was like, okay.
Over
And now
30.
mine, he owes me $121,000,
Oh
and he'll
God.
never pay it. But he also said after we had our daughter, he's like, I had a vasectomy and I can't have any more kids. He has three more kids. So,
Oh. Here's the thing. My son's father, I took him to court because the social assistants will not let it go.
Yeah, that's yeah.
They would not let it go. I'm like, okay, I'll take him to court. I don't need the money. I've got a job and I've got my backup. Like, if something happens, we're good.
They claw it back. They take it off your check.
32 fucking dollars a month they were gonna give me for child support.
Yeah,
I
because
looked at that judge and I was like, so he makes $4,800 a month, a year. Sorry, a year. $4,800 a year. He gets GST and whatever else payback clawback he gets. You're telling me all you can legally give me is $32 a month? And I looked at the judge and I said, Your Honor, I'm not taking it. Sorry, I'll deal without.
But you know
yeah,
what? That like that's the thing. That's like, and it's not even just moms. It's any parent. Like any parent who has custody of the kids, like they always take in mind the other parent. Like, oh, they can't work, they can't do this, so we're gonna reduce their maintenance or child support, whatever else. Yet they don't take in mind like what happens to the parents who's raising that child. Like for us, like if I'm raising my kid, if I was in an accident or something happened, nobody's subsidizing me. I
no,
still have to pay for the rent, I
my
still have to pay
like
everything,
my
right? Like,
exactly, and my husband now, he had two kids. So technically, when you're incarcerated, you're not supposed to pay child support, right? He was incarcerated for most of his youngest child's life, right? He had some issues. He anyway, long story short, but yeah, anyways, at the end of the day, we paid $250,000 for both those kids each. One said,
my
"I'm not going to take
husband,
you to court ever," and then as soon as we stopped paying the $200 a month, she had us in court. You
so
can't
we
trust.
have between me and my husband, we have 6 kids. He has 2, I have 4. And like so mine, we were together and my ex was paying $250 a month for 3 kids. My husband, who didn't go through, like him and his ex-wife split up and he just paid because that's it, was his first priority was his kids.
Right.
Like he walked away from his house, left her with the house, did all the stuff so the kids would be okay. He was paying, like at the time, like this was 20 years ago, he was paying like $1,200 a month for his kids.
Yep.
And he
Yep.
paid it every month on time, whatever. He was kind of a dick. Like when we got married, he got checks that were pictures of us and our marriage like on it. And he would take checks over to his ex-wife with and then when
Hey,
his
whatever,
son
whatever
so
works, right? But
his
yeah,
son his son was born September 1st. So he had to pay like for his last payment for his son, he had to pay like it was like 51 cents or something like that. So he took his ex-wife over a check for 51 cents and he dropped it off like because he followed every time he got a raise, he followed everything on the stuff. And I was like, you know what? Like this, like I'm married to a man who pays his child support without having to go through maintenance or anything else like that. And yet he's paying this much money for his kids and my ex is making same amount of money as he is, and for 3 kids he's paying 250
yeah.
and didn't even pay it. Like he didn't like he never paid anything. He got his like his license taken away, couldn't get a passport and all that kind of stuff. And yeah,
I never worked, so they can't garnish you anything. That's what mine did. He just wouldn't work, or he'd work drywall under the table for
oh,
cash, so that he never
mine
had.
did. He had a job at one point. He had a job making $93,000 a year, and as soon as maintenance caught up to him, and they took a payment off of him for $1,600, he quit.
Yep, mine would do
And
the
then
same.
yeah, worked under the table.
I see your hands up, Smarchco.
Oh, that was before. It's okay.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just eating right now.
OG West Coast guy. Do we know you? Come on up.
But
You're
then
gonna
I
sit
also
there.
had
You're gonna sit
my
there.
Y'all
I
a
didn't
bunch of
realize this
fucking
until
welfare fucking bums, man.
What's that?
Y'all a
You
bunch
felt
of
like the net.
welfare
You
fucking
felt
bums.
okay. Okay,
Do
sir,
any of you
sir,
work?
sir.
I'm not welfare.
Yeah.
Do a single one
I,
of you fucking work?
yeah,
Yeah.
actually I do.
No, you all don't. You're a bunch of
I,
welfare fucking
I,
I
bums, and y'all
actually
know it.
do.
Fucking
sir.
socialist
Bitch.
bums.
Fuck
You know
off.
what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well.
Actually, I work full
Guarantee
time.
you. Guarantee you that's a man who's not paying his child support.
Guaranteed that's a man who has to live with his left hand and his right hand for the rest of his life.
Not paying his
'Cause he's,
child support.
he's
Guarantee you.
probably on. He's
100%.
probably
My
on the
my
registry.
advice to that guy is if he kept his pecker in his pants, his wallet would probably stay there with it.
Yeah.
Well, you know the difference between a man and a vibrator? A wallet, and half of them don't have that either.
Yeah.
Anyways, I have full custody of my son, and
Amazing.
I've been raising my own. That's good. I have 4 kids, and I've raised 3 of them on my own, single mom, and I work full time, and I had to get a welfare subsidy, And I also actually now work full time. I'm a mother of 4. And I've been on welfare for over 30 fucking years, dude. And anyways, if we
Here's
were,
my
is
thing
that
to
any of your fucking business? Your tax dollars don't pay for fucking welfare.
that dumbass who says they're not working.
Fucking zero fucking. You got no moral compass, dude. None.
My
Zero.
job, I literally just paid off in a year. I paid off mine and my husband's mortgage. Like with my, like I do sales, I work commission. I paid off our fucking mortgage in a year. Like done, paid off.
That's pretty good for welfare. And actually, if somebody's living on disability because they have
Well, that's me working. So
right,
fuck him saying I don't have a
disability is
job.
not welfare. Disabilities is something that's there for our people that cannot work, and I don't have any problem with that because there are lots of people that cannot work. Just because you can, good for you. You don't have to come in here and be rude and start calling people names.
You
None
know
of us
what, West Coast? I wish you the day you deserve. I wish that when you wake up, your shoes are always wet. I wish that when you pour your creamer in your coffee creamer's gone bad, or your
fuck.
coffee is cold.
Fuck,
I
Listen,
I wish just for 1 second, every time you pull your clothes out of the dryer, they're always wet.
you're so fetch. You're so fetch.
and that's a First Nation
Shut
blessing.
up.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Good thing.
Again, like assuming that people are on welfare, like that's pretty rude. Like,
Hope he takes care of his kids.
yeah,
At First Nations, I'm a woman, not a man. Thank you. I've had 7 pregnancies, lost 6 pregnancies, have 1 kid out of that. So thank you for, bringing up my,
I promise
my,
you, any piece of crap that comes up here and says what he said is like we all have those exes. Those are the ones who
hmm
do not pay their child support. They don't pay their child support. That's exactly what that guy came up here for was, and they're always the ones that come up. They're like, you spend the money on yourself, you don't spend it on your kids, blah blah blah. Whatever. Fuck off.
Then explain to me how I spent like all my child on my kid and groceries and food and
I work to feed my 10 dogs and my kid. I have 10 dogs, 4 cats, chickens, and I work basically for that. And I also buy groceries. I also just paid $5,000 for a fucking cow. If I'm on welfare, pretty hard for me to rent a truck and pay $5,000 for a cow.
you know
Mod me? Can you mod
you
me?
know
Back to my home that I fucking own.
no, they
With the
can't
car
mod
that
you on
that
here.
I pay for. But I'm on welfare. Fuck off. Nobody let you back up. You can go fucking jerk yourself right the fuck off, fucker. I don't give a fuck. You're not getting back up here to fucking insult us. Get fucking bent.
He sounds like
Can you
Jim.
mod me? Can you make me mod so I can get rid of him?
I'll get rid of him. Fuck him. Fuck you. That's what you're gonna get. Fuck you and fuck you. Cliff, you can come up though. We like Clifford. Come on up, Cliff. But yeah, this guy can get fucking bent. I don't give a
Get
fuck.
rid of him?
Hey Clifford, how's it going?
Your poor
Hello,
kid.
governors.
You got full custody of your kid. That poor fucking kid.
Well, look
listening
at-
to a misogynistic
Look at
piece
him
of shit
saying,
like you.
"I have full custody and don't get any custody." Yeah, it's a bot account,
Fuck off.
crappy ass bot account.
Fuck off.
You know what? That's what you get when you leave men in charge of anything, because men can control their ejaculate from coming out. Women can't control getting pregnant.
Not all men. You can't say all men because some men are very respectful. They pay their child support like mine.
No. I said men can control their ejaculate. All men can control their
Are we
ejaculate.
talking about like the Canadian style of this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you mod me so I can get rid of him? I'll block
I don't
him.
know how to do that.
You can block him. Just look on his account.
Love you too, Grandpa.
Aw, Grandpa.
No, I'm here to take care of my grandfather.
Oh, we got him muted. You're good. Okay. Go ahead, Clifford. You.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just talking to my grandfather. He's going to bed now.
Aww.
Mumsy.
He's 86 years old.
Sorry.
He's 86 years old, and we talk politics all the time.
Aw.
Hey, you have my heart now.
Oh,
Sorry.
Can I
And
brush him?
his politics align with mine, so it's so great talking about it. And I'm native, so we have native politics, and we talk
Yes,
about
we do.
regular politics. I love
We,
it.
I can't spell today. For some reason, it wants to go mood hun, but I meant to put mushroom.
Oh my God, good night, Mushum. I just realized that right now. You're the best.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn the language. It's hard. Learning is hard.
No, no, he's Cree, so that adds up. That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, my best friend, who's actually on TikTok, he lives in like Central Alberta, and he was teaching me Cree. So he was teaching me words, and I was hoping I was getting them right. So,
Only the bad words, mostly.
well, yeah, I know what the bad words are. Come on now.
So what does that word mean, if you don't mind me asking?
Mushum is grandfather.
Mushum is grandfather. Cookum is grandmother.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, well, I'll tell you that in a DM because I can't say that out here.
Okay.
The big joke is like, how do you make bannock? Well, you mush them and you cook them.
I did. I used to, like my friend Erin Saul and I on here. She's on here too. We did. We called it tipsy baking,
Oh God.
and we did one night. We did the bannock. We made bannock tacos. Oh my gosh, I make them all the time still. My husband loves them. Like,
You know what you should make
Oh,
next?
those are so
Bannock
good.
burgers.
Those are good too.
Oh, that's so good too.
oh, that sounds
My
good.
husband's grandmother taught me how, well, actually my friend that from the Tanaha, because I live on the in the Tanaha territory, so I have a friend that lived so back in the 90s she taught me how to make fry bread, which is the same bannock, right? And then Alvin's grandmother taught me how to make the baked bannock because his family's from Mistawasa, Sandy Lake in northern Saskatchewan, and they baked it. But his grandfather also became Canadian during the Second World War. He joined the military and lost his status.
Because he gave his status up. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he received it back 2 weeks after his death. But my husband doesn't have status.
Aw. My my daddy's like, did you make bannock? I'm like, I tried. He's like, these taste like
Just
pumpkin
don't be
cups, my
mad. Don't
love.
ever be mad. That's one thing I was told. Don't ever make bannock when you're mad.
Well, the main thing is with the ingredients. What you have to do is like you put the ingredients in until the ancestors tell you. That's enough, my child.
Yeah. Um, my one ex, I will never forget this. He looks at my dad and he looks at me and he looks at my dad and he looks at me and then he looks at my mom. I'm like, what? He goes, your dad is not white. I'm like, he goes, your dad is darker than you and your mom. I'm like, and you're darker than your mom. I'm like, yeah. Sweetheart, I'm indigenous. He goes, that makes sense.
You're like, honey, this is
And
how the
walks
sun.
away.
Honey, this is how the sun works.
And he was the sweetest, but I just couldn't be with him anymore because he just kept pointing out every little thing about my dad and myself and my mom. And I'm like, stop. You need to stop with that. It was cute. It was cute when he first did it. But the second or third time, I was like, you really need to stop picking apart like differences between my mom and dad.
My favorite thing that I've encountered in the last like couple of weeks is I've encountered Nigerian TikTok and
That's awesome.
how much they love like native TikTok, and
Oh,
they're
they
like
do.
they do 100%, and they're like Clifford, come in the chat. So we're coming into Canada in a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. Are you gonna meet? I'm like, yes, I will meet you at the fucking airport.
Right?
Right.
And
So,
they're like, what do you think about having a Nigerian girlfriend? I'm like, well, getting yelled at in poetry would be fun.
Actually, I did
oh,
my grandparents sponsored a fellow from Ghana, Africa, back in the 70s to stay in Canada to go to school. He was friends with my aunt, and then once he received his permanent residency, he brought his wife and his son over. So I have family from Ghana, Africa. They're just part of our family. And Benji, it's just, but that's why I don't eat spicy food. So I was traumatized when I was about 8 years old because the food in Africa is 10 times 100. Like it's just, and you know how you were taught to
it has
always
flavor.
everything on your plate, right? So yeah, but it was like super spicy smarts. Like I mean, like ooh, like I mean,
Okay,
like burn your eyes. Your
I
eyes
wasn't
will
talking about
roll.
spice level. I was just talking about flavor.
okay, I'll put it this way. I tasted camel like when I was working with one of my friends like on a pipeline,
Yeah.
and it was so good. It
So
was,
do you remember? I don't
for
know
native
if
people,
Edmonton,
for
Edmonton,
native
they do
people,
Heritage Days.
yeah.
So, my husband and my sister, who are like, they would eat, like, if they had roadside kill, they'd probably fry it up and eat it. That's how they are with food.
No,
They're not.
you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is like I tasted camel,
Yep.
and as a native person, it reminded me of moose, like spicy moose.
That's
That's what
what
I.
my husband and my sister did. They were at the Heritage Days. They had camel. The first year we went, they ran out of camel. They couldn't try it. I'm like, "Mm, I'm not trying it." But they went the next year. They went back and tried it, and they both loved it. They're like, it's good. I'm like, well, you
It's
guys
so
would
good.
probably eat like a raccoon that was killed on the side of the road. My sister's like, yeah, if somebody fried it up, I'd probably eat it. But
I
that's
love
what I was
What
saying. Camel,
what
same
it what it
as
remind
Clifford. They
what
said
it
the
remind
camel
me
was
of?
really good.
No, it really is. What it remind me of is like what do they call it? Like when they fry like okay, so when farmers fry up like the balls of like
Oh, prairie
cattle.
oysters. The
Yeah,
prairie
prairie oysters.
oysters. Yeah,
Yeah,
like we have
when I first tried
put
prairie
on the fire.
oysters, it was so
Yeah,
hard to get one. And when I finally tasted, I'm like, oh, I get it. This is actually
yeah.
pretty cool. Because I used to
We
go
used,
to branding. I used to go to branding parties,
yeah.
and I loved it. I was like, this is fun, except for like my friends' cousins are hooking up. That wasn't cool, but whatever. Like
First
I like.
brownie party actually I ever went to was on the Blood Reserve in southern Alberta because
Oh
my
my
dad
goodness.
was working as a at the Bank of Nova Scotia, and
Yeah.
they had a branch out there. My dad was the loan manager that would go out from Lethbridge out to the Blood Tribe, and the first branding my brother and I ever went to was on the Blood Reserve. And it was a blast. We had the best time ever because the prairie oysters and the bannock and everything else fry bread. It was the best. And then they were because they do a lot of farming and ranching out in southern Alberta on the reserve, right? Like they're like not every like the stereotypical isn't what the way it actually is sometimes, right? Like everybody
Yeah.
has some stereotypical idea of what goes on. That's not necessarily
My
the way it is.
the funny
Flavorful
part is the funny part is my
vegetables.
first branding party was like a white person only thing. Like
Yeah.
where I'm from Dawson Creek, BC, so like
Oh
it
yeah.
is
Yeah.
northern British Columbia. And so my first branding party was like all my white friends. And so I got to wrestle like calves and all that fun shit. And I'm trying to get like a taste of what they're talking about, but everybody's taking it over. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you this." I'm like, "Prairie oysters aren't that bad. This is not bad."
They have to be cooked right. Like there's an
Yeah,
old trick too, like the old ranch boys, your bacon. Okay, so you know how you fry bacon and it always curls up. Bread.
100%.
Okay, so if you flour it, just roll your bacon in flour. It'll never roll on you. That's an old rancher's trick that I learned when I was ranching in Alberta. So just take your bacon out of your package, just roll it in flour and fry it. It will never roll up on you again, and it'll be kind of like have a bit of a batter on it from the grease and the flour. It's really good.
The funny
Oyster.
thing is that Western Canada, if you talk about prairie oysters, most people will know what you're talking about.
Oh
But
yeah,
if you
Yeah.
talk about this like with Americans and stuff, they'll be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
that's because they
Depending
don't.
on who you talk to and what side of the country they live in.
Well,
Oh,
even in
Canadians
Texas,
do it.
I've talked to a few people that are Texans that are like, "Yeah, I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about." I'm
But I
like,
mean,
"That's good."
has so many different cultures in every region, right? Like if you go to every different region, you're going to find different culture, different religion, different all kinds of different things, but the same, right? So we're all Canadian. We all like even with First Nations people, you know how many different bands and tribes and different culture within
There's
First Nations people, right? Same with Canadians everywhere. Like you can go to Newfoundland, it's totally different than it is in British Columbia. We're all
Well,
Canadian, but we're all different,
if I go to the east, I'm gonna kiss the cod.
right?
Oh,
Preaching straight.
I have a
You gotta drink
client.
I have two.
My best friend lives in Nova
Actually
Scotia.
I got kicked out of like New Brunswick.
Why?
Why?
Okay,
Yeah, why? Give us
you
some
can
explanation.
no, you can look this up on the internet. So I used to work for a company, and we got sent out east to the Bay of Fundy, and we got sent on. Okay, I can't remember the company's names, but there's a big thing out there, like with certain companies that own everything. They own the gas stations. What's that? What's that?
Halliburton? I
No,
think it's
no, no, no,
Halliburton.
no, no. The one company that was owned by the one old man, and when he passed away, he divided the company to everybody else. I can look it up if I leave the chat.
I'm trying to think because I'm good. I'm pretty good with. I'm a history buff, and I'm trying to think.
But
What the heck?
In New Brunswick, though, there was one company
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah.
that owned everything.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah. Like,
Anyways, on the Bay of Fundy, we went to like a big uh, natural gas storage tanks, and our job was to weld these storage tanks. But because we didn't realize we were part of like a what do they call it? Like they called it a job dispute. So we're involved in terms of like a union dispute.
Right.
And by the time most of us realized it, it was too late.
Oh no.
So we got trapped in a hotel for like a week, which included like somebody leaving a suitcase in the middle of our hotel lobby and saying that, oh, we're going to blow you up.
Oh Jesus.
oh, you can't say that.
No, it's 100% true. You can look it up.
No, 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 no,
It's,
no, no, no. Oh, no, I'm just saying
This is for
there's certain
educational purposes only. TikTok.
education. Yeah, educational purposes.
I'm just saying though, like that's what happened. And after a
Oh, I
week,
know.
we met with like the mayor of the town. We met with the RCMP, and they're like, "We're sorry this happened." Blah blah blah. But in the end, it was because we weren't told that there was a labor dispute, and there was a lot of I was a welder back then.
Oh, so you guys were brought in like as almost like scab labor and
That's
a union.
right. We were scabs.
Oh,
We took a 1-day tour of that site, and people were spitting on us and everything.
Oh yeah.
And
That's a hard situation to be in. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
me too. It was so weird because a lot of workers from out east came to work in Alberta, and there was backlash with it too.
Right. Well, that's the thing too. Like even where my husband
It
is,
was-
like he's
It was roughly, I think, in 2009. You can look it up. New Brunswick, Alberta coming in to. It was so weird. It was like it was like being in wrestling, like being like a heel. Part of you is like, yeah, this is kind of fun, but at the same time, you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's not a situation I'd want to be in. Absolutely not. That sounds like an orange potato situation. You know,
But
like what's going on with
The funny part is that when we actually left, they came and they were like, "Hana na na, hey, 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 goodbye," and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
people are just rude.
You know,
And the funny
they
part
want
is like,
for that. They
the
want
funny part
potatoes
is,
and everybody the green light to be an asshole.
no, the funny part is like they protested during the hours of the morning and at night,
Oh,
but during the day we all walked as groups to like say like by the way, I was a young guy back then, like in my 20s, and so I found like the biggest motherfuckers I could find, and I was like, all right, I was like, all right, I'm going with you motherfuckers because you guys are the biggest motherfuckers I've ever met. And they're like, oh, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, I'm like, I was like, if I went to jail, then you guys would trade me for cigarettes. So I'm gonna fucking go with you guys when it comes to doing things like going
oh
to
my
temple.
God.
And they're like, you're funny. We're gonna keep you. And the funny part is, like, we walked with other groups, and when we encountered other groups during the day, we give like the whole Canadian nod. We'd be like, uh huh. and we understand like, oh yeah, we know who we are,
right?
and that lasted a week.
We're
And
pretty proud people, no
the,
matter
the
what,
union
where we come from.
and the unions there, they fucking hated us, which included the hotel staff where we're at. So the hotel staff, they'd be like, okay, we're going to give you your daily lunch, which would include a hard-boiled egg, a piece of toast, and something else.
Yeah.
They didn't like us. They didn't like us there at all.
Oh, that sounds horrible. But again, like, this was 2009. I guess that was before the orange potato. But Americans have always kind of like their politics and their crap has always kind of filtered over into Canada, and because we are so entwined with their
No, I understand that, but look up. It's because it's in Canadian newspapers, so you can look up what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I don't know the difference. The St. John's, Newfoundland, St. John, New Brunswick, but one of the two. That's where we landed. That's where we're staying. You can look it up. And what happened was, we met with the mayor and the cops, and they're like, okay, we're going to send you to a northern part of Manitoba, which is all French. And they sent us to like this weird like hotel that had like a amusement park in it. And then they just paid for the whole thing, and we went home after a week.
Well, that's what's gonna like. That's a hard thing. Even now with the tariffs and stuff that are coming on.
Well, actually, the hardest part is ordering a coffee.
With the unions, right? And because again, you've had experience with it being a non-union. I've never worked for a union myself.
That was back when I was non-union.
Right.
These days I
am
am
union now. We need to support them because these are the workers that are going to be affected mostly by these tariffs, right? They're going to lose their jobs, and we need to support them too. But again, I'm one that wants to stand as a Canadian with First Nations people because not so much my husband, my upbringing is Southern Alberta. A lot of my friends are from the Blood tribe, from the Piikani Nation as well. I was one of those kids that wasn't afraid to date anybody of a different skin color. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like very right from the very beginning.
I'm in a lot of Nigerian TikToks. They're like, Clifford, do you want to have a Nigerian girlfriend? I'm like, well, I don't know about going to Nigeria right now, but like, well, if you. But no, the funniest part about like being over in New Brunswick was trying to order a double from Tim Hortons. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
No way.
You are our auntie, and auntie says it straightly, not sugar coated.
Like when I was over there, I was like, "Can I get a double, a large double?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, like a large double. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, like a large coffee with 2 creams and 2 sugars."
And where was that? Sorry, I missed that.
No, that was in St. John, New Brunswick.
Okay.
And I had a really rough time about it. And it took like 5 minutes to get my coffee, and I'm like, okay, this is different.
We have to get a double here now.
But
It doesn't matter where you are in Canada. Try and get a double. Try to go to Tim Hortons and find somebody that actually can speak English without, having it.
These were white people that lived in that area, and there was like a language barrier, and I didn't understand it. But in the end, I'm telling you right now, if I didn't have to work over there, they're some of the most polite, incredible, amazing people you'll ever meet.
I think Canada's pretty much all across the board. We're pretty amazing people.
When I was younger,
here's the other thing. So the labor unions
separated and divided, right? By all kinds of different things. Trump, COVID, politics, the fact that people have been gaslit to believe things that absolutely aren't true, and that's polarized our whole country. But I think that in whole, there's a very small population that actually believes that we should join the United States. Alberta seems to be a little more polarized.
Yeah, Did you see that guy? Did you see that guy? Well, obviously you did because I took one of your found your video and then I copied his.
The one where he's pledging.
I'm not going to. I'm going to say it nicely, like how I put it in my video about him. That the marshmallow guy is like, oh, look at Trump with his your head on your shoulders is for hot air. There's like a hot air, whatever. That's how I'm gonna put it because I'm not gonna put it in. I don't want to say anything that's like, I don't want to.
violations. Don't get any community violations. They're
Dodo bird guy. No,
I can't even put a video
it's
up.
not for violations. I don't want to do it because I don't want to be ableist towards people or anything like that. But he's a dodo bird. Like, and I'm like, and then there's so this girl Grazie, her and I are friends on TikTok, and she posts a lot of videos, and she's been getting like flack. She's in lives. She goes into lives trying to say like not all of Alberta.
Can you mute
is
Clifford?
not
I'm hearing a lot of background noise.
me.
I got it. No, go ahead, Sherry.
Okay. Grazie, her name is. She posts a lot of videos and stuff. She's one of my friends on here. And she's like, she goes into lives trying to represent Alberta, being like, hey, we are not, like, Alberta is not what you think they are. Like, all these people posting, they are a small group of people from Alberta and whatever else. And somebody the other night in a live doxed her. I was like, Jesus.
Wow. Yeah, well, like I said, there's since David Schwann actually, oh, hang on, I'm muted. I gotta unmute myself.
Why do you have to mute yourself? Oh, yeah. And there's me.
Here's you. And I'm just eating my ice cream
Okay,
because, you
now
know.
I'm unmuted. Okay, so
That's
Lethbridge,
so fetch, Mars. So fetch.
we actually have the Liberal Party kind of getting some traction in
It's
Alberta.
not really fetch, I'm just saying. But
Am I muted?
no.
Now you are.
Am I muted?
Nope.
Mars and I have this whole thing going back and forth. She's like my Gretchen Wiener. When she's trying to make fetch stick. And then she posted something. I posted a video the other day. She's like, so we can, because Glass Tiger's video, the whole cat.
Yeah.
And she's like, so we can say that's fetch. I'm like, dang, now obviously it is. Dang it. She's like, so this is now fetch? I'm like, yes, this is fetch. I'm like, this is my childhood crush posted this, and she's like, so it's fetch now? I'm like, okay, now we have to use words now I have to use words fetch because of her. So
I can't believe I heard
your wins.
the word Felcher the other day. And I'm like, I haven't heard the word Felcher for so long I forgot that it even existed. I think it was
that song. My husband's because I've been like, I'm also, you call me lefties, whatever. I'm also a medicated lefty. So I had to redo my dosage of my medication. So my husband is now taking these as a nice trip away. We're going to see Glass Tiger in Calgary next weekend.
nice.
Do you know, I had no idea who Glass Tiger was.
I know you didn't, but you're like, it's fetch, but I have no idea who they are.
You have to be old enough to know who they are, Smarsh. But just about the alternative medication, I've been doing that since 2006. I've been licensed since 12. And I actually wrote the cannabis laws with the Liberals in 2014, put them on the floor where they voted and got them into policies so you guys could all, have legalization. You're welcome.
Mine is years of depression, antidepressants, being depressed.
Like real deadly, eh?
Different levels of depression because of my family. And my grandmother was like, she was probably manic depressant, is what they called her. She was bipolar type 1.
Yeah.
And my cousin and I both got diagnosed later on in life. Like I think I'm on like my 4th year of being diagnosed as bipolar type 2, which is, and people are like, what's the difference? I'm like, I don't have manic. Like my manic is like a normal person's good day. Bipolar type 2, my depression is like, there's depression, then there's my depression. I don't come out of that hole. So my manic, when I have a manic, like because everybody's like, oh, you're bipolar? I'm like, yeah. They're like, are you like crazy? Like, are you gonna kill somebody? I'm like, fuck off. Or are you gonna shave your head? Like I've had people say that to me. I'm like, I'm bipolar type 2. I'm like, do you know the difference? There's like different levels of bipolar. Like there's Britney Spears bipolar is type 1. Manics, they go spend a shit ton of money. They're out doing whatever they're doing kind of thing. Mine is and even my husband was like when I had to tell him like I was like when I found out I was and they diagnosed me properly, I was like, oh, now I have to tell my husband. I was very nervous about telling him, which is like because you think like people think like any kind of medication. If you're on medication, they're like, oh, you're like. And then when you add bipolar, everything you see on like, because I'm a true crime person, so I watch all that kind of stuff. They're like, that person was bipolar. That person was bipolar. They're bipolar. They, you know, but then you got to get the different levels of bipolar, which I thankfully have a really good doctor who looked into a whole bunch of stuff for me. And he's like, hey, he's like, you're bipolar. I'm like, am I really? Like, am I gonna like wanna like end somebody's life or something like that? And he's like, no. He's like, you're bipolar type 2. I'm like, what's the difference? He's like, bipolar type 2 is where your manic is like a normal day for right? Like you don't have a big high manic, but your depression level is like dig a grave and then dig beyond that grave kind of thing, right? Like trying to come out of it, like trying to come out of a depression. Like, cause mine, they put me on antidepressants. My depression, when I was depressed, they tried to put me on many different antidepressants and they didn't work. Like none of them worked, right? So then I had to have a mood stabilizer, which is, and so like my manics, like people are like, do you have any manics? I'm like, yeah, my manic is like a normal person, like a regular person having a good day. Like if you have a good day, like that's my manic. My manic is,
Well,
I'm having a good day. Like I'm like,
the thing is like I've got ADHD and a couple other things. Someone tried telling me I don't meet the requirements for bipolar 2, and I'm like, okay, so how would I find this out? Just playing like silly with them, and they're sitting there and they're like, well, you go get a psychological test, and I mean, oh, so you mean the 2 tests I've got in front of me that say I'm bipolar 2? They're like, oh, so you've done a psychological exam? I'm like, yeah, in 2008 was the first one, and the second one was in 2021. They're
but you
like,
know what? The
oh,
majority of the time, they don't test for bipolar type 2. They don't look
they
for
did
bipolar
theirs, though.
symptoms.
They did this specifically
Okay, good. Then glad they did.
I have
because they
attention
didn't.
deficit, and I didn't get diagnosed till I was in my 50s.
They diagnosed me when I was 8.
Yeah, no. Well, I was diagnosed in the 70s as a hyperactive child, right? In the 70s, they didn't have the tools or the information, especially girls and women and girls that have got totally different specific presentations for attention deficit, ADHD, ADD. So I thought I had anxiety. It wasn't anxiety, it was attention deficit since I started taking medication. And I tried all kinds of like natural, kind of remedies first. My whole life changed
Right.
with the medication I take for ADHD now. Like you can ask people that knew me before. I'd never show up. I'd say I'd come and I never show. I was always like, late. I was always like, running behind. Now with the medication, I actually show up when I'm supposed to. I actually finish it. My dad called me a quitter my whole life. Never finished anything. You'll never be anything. You'll never amount to anything. You never finished anything. Because I was a fucking attention deficit child that didn't fucking have any tools to work with. So multitasking, but never finishing anything. So there's no resentment towards my folks, but I'll tell you, at 55 now, trying to maneuver through life when it's not the same, it's a fucking different world. And
Yeah.
if you need medication, fucking take it.
Yeah.
Because you know how many people say, well, you're taking drugs, pharmaceutical, you're a drug addict.
Do you know,
In
I went through years of depression, like meeting my husband, like we've been together 20 years now. And I was like, oh, I was so ashamed about the idea of taking, like, at the time I was only diagnosed as antidepressant, right? And I went through, like, I had to go through trying to rid myself of the world, basically.
Yeah.
And my husband was like, he didn't, like, his family was like, they don't understand depression, have never had anything with it. And he took me, like, he picked me up off the bathroom floor and I'm not gonna lie, like I took a bunch of pills. My son found me, unfortunately, which is really sad. Like still bugs me to this day. But and went and got my husband, and my husband picked me up off the bathroom floor and took me to the hospital, and they had to pump my stomach and do all that stuff. And then I woke up the next morning, and you're already ashamed, right, because of it. And my husband said to me, he's like, I will never look at you the same way again. And he went home, and he didn't say till like a couple of years later that he had gone home and he called his daughter and cried. He's like, I can't believe that she would rather be non-existent than be married to me, because he didn't understand what depression was, right? And then he came back to the hospital, and when he was able to take me home from the hospital, he's like, we're going to your mom's house. You're going to tell your mom what you did. Like, you're going to tell your parents what you did. So I went to my mom's house, and he's like, tell your mom what you did. And I told my mom was like, why is she out of the hospital? Why is she even here? Like, why the next day? Why are they letting her go home? Like, take her back to the hospital. She needs hospital. She needs help. Whatever else. Because my mom had gone through it too, right? Like, my family depression runs down my family. Whatever else. My grandma would be what you consider nowadays. If my grandma was alive now, she would be bipolar type 1, right? And so I got diagnosed as bipolar type 2. And then my cousin was going through stuff, and my she's like, I just want to let you know, I'm calling your uncle, and I'm going to let him know about what's happening with you, what happened with you, just because I think your cousin's going through the same thing. And they diagnosed my cousin as bipolar type 2 as well, right? So I'm like, yeah, it's good. Like, I know what it is, and now I'm not ashamed of it. It's so every day I have to take 2 pills. I have to take a mood stabilizer. I have to take an antidepressant, but it makes my day go good. I have to take 2 pills. If 2 pills is what I have to take to make my life go good, whatever.
I have not taken a
You're muted.
pharmaceutical. I have not taken a pharmaceutical medication in probably 6 months. I quit all medications. I just take Lion's Mane, and that's it.
I'm good with it. Like I had a thing in my life where, like, something with grapes, happened in my life. I had a child from it. I wound up, like, was not in a good place because I had not
Yeah.
been properly diagnosed. Married my best friend, who him and I were just like, he's like, let me take care of you. One of my best friends. Still to this day, like, we're now divorced, whatever else. One of my best friends, he has my back constantly, looks after my kids. Like, even my 3 kids from my high school boyfriend, who doesn't look after his kids. All 3 of my kids, he's their dad. He's like phenomenal human being, whatever else. So, like, I think everything happens for a reason, whatever else. And I think, my youngest son is like, him and I are not close, for reasons, whatever else. But my ex-husband and him, who raised him, not his biological dad, but raised him like he is really good for him. And his new wife, who I love, she's a good person, looks after my kids totally. They're the parents that he should have had, I guess, is how you put it.
Yeah,
Like,
we just have to go through life the best way we can. Journeys, our life's all journey, right? And there's nothing perfect for any of us. And I'm just happy that you were able to get some resolution and have a half decent life, no matter what. Like, you're a great person, and I think that you're doing the best you can for you and your family. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of. I think you're terrific. And to sit here and tell us your story like that, thank you. Thank you. I
That's
appreciate
awesome. It really is. Is it okay if I ask an off-topic question?
it. Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of weird, but what are your guys' favorite crime dramas to watch?
Oh, I just watched this new one on Prime. I fell asleep to it
I like
watching it the
forensic
other night.
science. So I watch HLN on that forensic, where they do the forensic murder cases all the time. And I like
Oh, wow.
48 Hours with Mindy. I like to watch those real crime, like real policing kind of stuff. And I can't watch Law and Order too much anymore, especially SUV after being. I was actually, like, just still dealing with the fact that I was SA'd twice by people that I knew in my date rate, whatever you want to call it. So I
Have
don't like
you,
watching it
have you ever watched like the Toronto one they got going on now?
Oh, so the mafia one on
No,
Crave?
the Toronto SUV,
Oh,
where Toronto
no.
police are actually doing their
I'm
jobs.
gonna
I'm documentary
I'm gonna
person.
take a 5 minute
Let me
break
do.
for a second. I have to use the the little girls' room. I'll be right back. You guys go ahead.
Okay.
Have you guys
I'm
watched Adolescence?
I'm a what?
Adolescence?
Adolescents? No.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, a lot of people have been telling me to watch it. I'm actually watching
It's really
something
good.
that I'm actually watching something Miss Lotus said I should watch,
I've
and
heard about that.
it's getting really interesting because it's the rise of Schmittler or
Schmidt.
the evil or Schmittler.
I gotta look that up.
Mustache Man.
You
Yeah,
know the
yeah.
best one to watch for that for Netflix is it's how to become a dictator. Something like
Right.
it's a show
But
called something like that. Yeah.
the premises of the show though is to show you that what's going on then is now happening today in the US.
Yeah.
Right? Like it basically lays out the plans of Trump following the book. Um, I can't say the word of the book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Schmittler's book, right? So
Yeah.
it lays out everything, the plan, like just all that.
I
And it's
say,
so
I say
freaking scary.
Minecraft more.
Yeah, Minecraft. We'll go with
Dinner.
that one. Dinner. Yeah, Minecraft.
I'm sorry.
All I watch is true crime documentaries,
I love it.
and stuff like I watch like people in like the prison stuff, and
Yeah, locked up,
actually
raw.
a show I just watched on Prime called New Crime something. There's 2 seasons of it, and then then I fell asleep, woke up, and I was watching this one about. You remember Scott Peterson and Lacey Peterson?
Yes,
Remember that?
the white pregnant lady that got unalived by her
Yeah.
husband. Yeah.
And it was like a totally different perspective of what happened. It was from the jurors' perspective, like the jury from Scott Peterson's trial. And
Yeah.
I did not realize that when she passed away, like when Lacey Peterson was gone, that it was actually only her torso that came up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I watched the video, and the jurors, like he's like, they won't show they wouldn't show the pictures obviously to the press or anything like that because they were family. And he's like, there was literally the pictures they were seeing. There was like sea creatures crawling out of her torso when she was. I'm like, oh.
I can't watch that kind of stuff when I go to sleep because I watch those prison shows like Doing Time and like El Salvadorian prisons and stuff. And I dream I'm there, where I get
Carrie,
I'm gonna be one of those people like.
put a filter on
My
your thing.
husband passes away from like natural causes
Put
because
it-
if he doesn't, they're gonna arrest
Carrie,
him because my
you're-
computers and stuff are all gonna be like serial killers and
Sherry,
true crime stuff.
Sherry,
Okay.
put a filter on while you're popping there, because you put
I
a
was
filter
pop-
on.
Oh, yep. Taking it off.
I
Okay.
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if it was me. I'm watching CBC politics thing.
No,
now.
I was just.
That's all I watch is news. I watch I cut off all my cable except for Wi-Fi, except for the news tier and basic cable. Because all I watch is either CBC, Al Jazeera, or CNN. That's it.
Oh,
But it's mostly Al
I
Jazeera.
pay
watch
for a
more
movie
Al
box.
Jazeera than anything else.
I pay for a movie box every year, like $120, and I watch whatever I want.
I literally pay for TV to have TV so my husband can watch stuff, like watch hockey and football. So we pay
Well, that's exactly
$20 a month for
My
him.
husband doesn't watch any sports. I have to have Velocity, and I have to have car shows. And when he's not home, I turn it all off because he's gone 21 days out of the month, and it doesn't get used. And when you're paying $236 for a bunch of stupid car channels, you shut them off.
We have, so for Christmas, I bought my husband, like, he has a 55-inch TV downstairs. I bought years ago. It's a 3D TV. So, like, when 3D TV first came out, I bought it for him. Saved up,
Yeah.
paid a couple thousand. So I bought him a new TV for upstairs. So we had a 32-inch upstairs. And I bought him this 65-inch TV that we have upstairs. And that thing, it's an RCA TV. And it started bleeding. Like, there's black streaks coming down.
Ooh.
So, and I have to, I'm trying to get to the point where I can, like, the warranty, like they said, I sent it back to, like, we got it from Visions and
Oh, were
everything.
these not the ones that said you had to like smash it up and cut the cord?
Yeah.
and-
So, and I'm still trying to, they gave me 30 days to do it. So I'm at this weekend to have to do
Let
it.
me do it.
I have to, we'll have to cut, like, have to take all the serial numbers off the back of it, which are stickers, and take a picture of that and take a picture of me destroying the serial numbers. Then I have to cut the cord as short as I can. Take a picture of me with the cord cut, and then take a picture of the back of the TV with the cord cut and stuff. Then turn the TV over, and my case number, which is like 15 numbers long, scratch that with a screwdriver into the front of the TV and send them a picture of that. And then they will send me, they said they don't have the TV anymore. It's not in stock anymore, which is fine because I don't want the TV again. And then they're going to send me a check out for the amount of money for it. Okay, well,
One other question I wanted to ask is, because all three of you have your husbands, what is your guys' to-go show to watch together?
my husband and I don't watch those together.
I don't watch anything with my husband. I don't have one.
I will. We'll watch like 48 Hours, or I'll watch like American Pickers, or they have the off-grid shows. Like I can't remember what the names of them are.
Yellowstone. My husband and I watch
Not
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. It's like a real life, like real time. They're
Yeah, one of those ones. Yeah, I get it.
yeah. Or we'll watch like I'll even sit and watch Velocity, like a car auction or something with him. He will sit and watch news with me. So we just kind of like we both just kind of like we'll just whatever like. And if I'm watching news, he'll sit next to me and watch whatever he wants on his tablet.
Yeah.
So
My husband comes up. We watched, the only two shows we have watched together was Sons of Anarchy and Yellowstone.
yeah,
And
my husband liked those two. I didn't watch either one of them. I can't do the violence. Like it
They're
just like when I see the
they're
violence,
the same
it's
kind of
so
show.
anger. It just reminds me of our life before we gave all that shit up. Right? So when I watch Sons of Anarchy, it just takes me back to a time in my life in a clubhouse long ago that I don't ever want to go back to.
I know.
With Albertans, they're like, yeah, we're gonna take Trudeau to the train station.
Yeah, I see that happen.
And I was like, okay, I get it.
Well, I'm gonna take all.
What did he ever do? Like in reality, like when you ask a conservative or anybody what Trudeau actually did, he didn't do anything. We go, he should have met with the convoy. Would you meet with people that are threatening your life? Would you go out into a crowd of people that want to kill you? Probably not. It's not him that put the mandates in. It was your premiers, right? He didn't close any borders. He didn't tell you to wear a fucking mask. And it was for public health and safety. He fed you during COVID. He gave you daycare. He gave you dental. First Nations, he's exonerated Poundmaker and given First Nations and murdered and missing Indigenous. He's done more for this fucking country than any other prime minister before him. So when people tell me that Justin Trudeau legalized MJ2, on top of that,
you guys think those people are the same ones?
So I don't want to hear anything that SNC was Harper's deal. He got fucking straddled with that. And Jody Wilson-Raybould, I have respect for her as an Indigenous woman, but she threw herself under the bus because she had bigger aspirations, kind of like Chrystia Freeland. Only you see how far that got her. She's still on cabinet. She's fucking lucky about that. I'm a liberal.
I love my whole
I have
neighborhood
ridden the
right
liberal
now.
train through Ignatia and see Dion and all the fucking shitty leaders we've had, and I will fucking ride the next one too. But
My
you have
entire neighborhood is Canadian flags right now. There's so many Canadian flags that were not up at all. Like because of the convoy, they were not up. People did not put up
took our flag back because they had no fucking right taking it to begin with. And I'll tell you, the good truckers, the ones that were actually delivering us our food and fucking got a vaccine because they knew that if they needed to feed their families, they had to do what was fucking good for their family. Public health and safety, right? And the funniest thing is Pat King was on Prairie Princess's fucking live the other night. And you know
I
what his
saw, I
position was
heard.
during the
Yeah.
convoy?
I was there.
He was in charge of
Were
public
you?
health and safety. You don't believe in a vaccine, but you're in charge of public health and safety, you fucking hypocrite.
Okay, okay. Never mind hypocrite. Dude took his girlfriend. What was his girlfriend? Sophie. He was on
That looks
Ozempic.
just like Trudeau's.
He was on
Doesn't she kind
Ozempic.
of look like Trudeau's wife, don't you think? I thought she looks a lot like Sophie Trudeau, don't you
He
think?
took Ozempic. He took Ozempic.
Do you know what killed the convoy?
He snorted
He
cocaine.
cheated.
He snorts cocaine off the back of a fucking toilet, and he's worried about a vaccine.
I don't
Shut
know
the
what
fuck up.
that stuff, but he
Do you
posted
know-
a thing that he was on Ozempic. He said full out that he was on Ozempic. I'm like, dude, you don't take other stuff, but you're on Ozempic? Like seriously?
In my
got the
opinion,
vaccine.
in my opinion,
No
what
one,
killed
I guarantee that Pat King was vaccinated because he wouldn't have been allowed in a fucking courthouse without it.
in my opinion, what killed the convoy is they had that manifesto when they're going to replace.
It's a fucking joke.
Ridiculous.
You want to take over the government? I didn't
And
elect.
Pat King was part of that. That's why he backed out of everything, and that's what killed the movement.
Well,
The moment
because you
you
know
act-
what? Because an MOU
Yeah.
meant nothing. You're not an elective bunch of anything. Canada's a democracy. You cannot overtake the government with a coup. You could if you were maybe another party and you went to the governor general.
You look at Barber and Litch
Right?
now,
But again,
and both of them are like the elbows up thing. They're like, that's so
they
crazy.
think it's stupid.
It's not a good thing. It's not whatever. They're
I'd
Okay.
like to meet her. I'd like to meet her outside of Medicine Hat Bar one day. And I'm 4'9". I'll bring a stool.
I'd be there. I'd be recording like Rockstar.
I'd
Just kidding.
fucking knock that.
Okay, I just wanted to say something. I had asked him about why Polyev was so for the convoy, whatever. Like, I know, right?
There's
But
a
like,
big
I
reason.
don't. Just hear me out, okay?
hey,
Like,
hey,
he
hang
was.
on, sorry, Smarsh. Dude who came in, you're 51st this bitch. Just saying. Sorry.
Well,
Okay,
there was
so
sorry. Go ahead.
Go
go
smart.
ahead.
okay, so I was sitting there talking with him the other day, and I said, okay, why is it that it's okay for you guys to try to overthrow the government? You know, you wanting Polyev or Trudeau to meet you, and everything like that, but it's not okay for our Indigenous brothers and sisters to have, you know, the fight for the ecosystem that is made for the entirety of our country. And you know, like it's just it's mind-boggling, right?
It's
And
flabbergasting.
he's like, well, I did an interview with the chief. I'm like, oh, so you got inside information, hey? Because the chief doesn't talk to outside counsel, to outsiders, unless they are they are vetted. You know what I mean? So you're
Which chief
talking.
though? Which chief did he talk to? Out of 600 chiefs in Canada, 600.
He was
Which chief?
talking to he didn't name any. He just
Yeah,
said I
so he's
talked
full
to.
of shit. How
No,
many
I'm not.
chiefs are there?
But he was talking to the chief of the Wet Sweat, and I'm like, okay, but there's more than just that, right? And it's like, oh my God, like I'm sitting there talking, and he's like, no, that's not that. And I'm like, no, you cannot talk on something you have no fucking idea about what you're talking about. If you want people to stop calling you a fucking terrorist, stop being one.
Yep.
I'll stop pounding my drum and when until you guys fucking learn you're on stolen fucking land. I don't give a
I,
shit.
If I didn't have anything against conservatives until Manitoba, conservatives in Manitoba saying we are not
Don't
searching landfill,
don't.
we can't search a landfill, and then you get
Mm,
conservatives and you put somebody else in, and yes, they found all the remains. That should have been done right off the bat.
no,
Yeah,
no.
apologize
so
for
we've got
now.
these
I get
British
it.
Columbian conservatives that are actually calling out and saying that there's been no anomalations and nothing done in Kamloops. In fact, one got thrown off and then two more scurried off. The Conservative Party in British Columbia hadn't existed for 60 fucking years until this last year. When John Rutstead got thrown out of the United Liberal Party that was here, or whatever, the liberals that weren't liberals or conservatives, whatever
The
the
BC
fuck.
Liberals are conservative.
United now because they changed their name to BC United, and they don't exist anymore either because half of them crawled to across the floor to the conservatives. But Polyev has been out here fucking pandering. Our conservatives here are aligning themselves with the schmatzis in fucking Ottawa. So Rustad again has a bunch of people on there that are anti-vaxxers, MPs, MLAs that are in our province that are anti-First Nation, anti-LGBTQ. They're schmatzis. Start the fuck up.
You're from BC?
Yeah, I live in Cranbrook. You
I
bet.
live in Dawson Creek. So what you're talking about is like the North Peace BC conservative that walked away from the whole situation. We
Well,
separated
there's two of them, right? That came along. Okay, so there was the first one. What's her name? That she was from Surrey. I think it was not Surrey, but down in Lower Mainland. That basically was denying.
South Peace. So the North Peace guy also walked away too.
Yeah, but they were denying the fact that residential schools even exist.
We're not Maple
But he-
MAGA.
are you
We're
not
just
vetting these
Maple
people
MAGA.
before they were even running? What the fuck is wrong with Rustad? Rustad believes these things, and he was actually the minister of the First Nations when he was with the BC United before, and he's the reason why Wisconsin. I can't say it, so I'm going to be disrespectful and not be able to say that. I can't.
So
Anyways,
I'm just saying. What do you expect out of them?
I don't expect anything out of them.
Yeah, because our local MP was also another person that talked about First Nations. Or like, well, maybe First Nations women wouldn't disappear if they had jobs.
Yeah, right. But they gave John Rustad a blanket. They showered him with gratitude when he was the minister. He accepted that blanket. They put it over his shoulders, and a year later, he stabbed them all in the fucking back.
Well, to be honest, First Nations people should not be doing that anymore. We did that with Trudeau. We did that with Harper.
But you know what, Trudeau? You know what, Trudeau at least exonerated Poundmaker. He's the first prime minister that's ever shook a Northern Cree Saskatchewan chief's hand since 1869.
No,
I will give Trudeau that much because that was something for especially for my husband's family who are from that part of the country. They are from
in Alberta.
I don't disagree with that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
What I'm
And I
trying to say
can't
though
speak
is
for
like,
that. And again, I'm a white woman. I can't speak. Right? I'm here to listen and
you
learn.
can. You certainly can.
Well, I don't
remember when the Pope came to Smarsh. You're from Alberta too. When the Pope came to Alberta, like when he was coming to apologize, and he went to Massachusetts, and they literally have not done anything with the roads going out to from like where I'm in Leduc. I'm not far from Massachusetts. They have not done anything with the roads or anything for years. The Pope coming, they paved the road out to Massachusetts.
Hey, I drove to Saskatchewan last week and you think that roads are bad? Go drive to fucking Saskatchewan.
They paved before the Pope came. They
Oh, yeah.
paved the road. Like in Alberta, they paved
You know how much,
and the road just
Sherry.
for him coming. It's like, are you serious? Like,
Sherry, do you know how much that cost Alberta?
oh, I know how much it costs Alberta.
$35 million.
It was, yep. And I know because I'm like, where I'm from. I'm in Leduc, Leduc is like from Massachusetts is like literally like not even 20 minutes, and they paved the highway and paved the, it was just like literally. Like,
Jason Kenney had his big ass 150 blue truck. And in Alberta, be like, oh, we're gonna change like the equalization program that I worked with Harper when I was under Harper to fucking change to what it is now. And then I'm gonna bet $20 billion on a pipeline that depends on the president being elected. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, is that the wet sweat one I was talking about?
No, that's the one that goes from south to south.
That was South Dakota one.
Yeah, so Biden stopped that. That was a TMX. And then we bought, like the Canadian taxpayers bought the one from the tar sands out to Tidewaters.
when Jason
Look what that happened.
Alberta,
I'm a pipeliner. I worked on that job.
Yeah, so
I was on Trans Mountain
200
Pipeline.
barrels a day are going through that to Tidewater. And Danielle Smith thinks that that's her money. It's not
Well,
her fucking money.
Jason Kinney banked on, like, when Trump was, the last time Trump was in power, he banked that he was going to be in power again. So he paid a bunch of money for Alberta, and Alberta spent tons doing the pipeline.
Red hats, brown shirts, right? When old Candace Bergen was down there and Jason Kenney all wearing, and then there's Danielle Smith at the inauguration. Now she's down there speaking to a, like, she needs to go. And you, like, there's just no other option on that. She
I'm
has
not a big Jason Kenney fan, but Jason Kenney said when he left politics, he's like, you know what? You've now elected the monster, and you've released, like,
yeah.
it's
He
going
was totally
downhill.
against it.
So here's what's going to happen if Pierre Paul loses the election. If he gets a minority, they're going to lose.
He's not going to win. I'm not even worried about
Anything,
it.
no. Anything less than that, what's going to happen is Jason Kenney and what's his name from Ontario are going to run, and probably what's her name
No,
from
Jason Kenney's not running. It's Danielle Smith.
no. Jason Kenney is 100% going to run for leadership.
Or the Conservative Party, you think?
Yes.
I don't doubt
If he
that.
loses, he's definitely going to fucking run. I mean, if Pierre loses, I mean.
Well, Pierre's been Stephen Harper's minion since he was 14 years old.
Well,
Stephen
we're talking
Harper's
about.
still pulling those strings, right?
I'm
Right, you?
I'm an Albertan native, so I understand what the
Me too.
Reform Party
Me too.
is.
I've only been back in BC. Like, let's put it this way: I was born here. I left when I was 11 years old, and I've been living in Alberta since I was 11 years old till like 10 years ago. My parents were still in
So
Western-
we're talking about the Reform. Sorry,
Reform Alliance, yeah.
we're
The
talking
Stephen
about,
Harper Christian Reform Alliance, yeah. I was there for all that.
and they talk about how the Liberals and the NDP are like, oh, they're getting together to reform politics. Like, what are we talking about? Like, Stephen Harper literally took two parties and made them into a federal party, and we're talking about the UCP.
Yeah, you're
They
right.
took all the parties, they made them into one to defeat the NDP.
Yep. Yep, you're right. Well, the Reform Alliance took over the CPC, right? So you had the Progressive
That's
Conservative
right.
Party.
The Alliance Party. I forgot about that. The
So
Reform.
the
and
Reform.
the
So when
Alliance.
Stephen Harper, when he became Prime Minister of Canada, he took over the Progressive Conservative, and they became Reform Alliance Party, right? And that was when he became the leader of that party. Once he was elected into, being the Prime Minister of Canada, we didn't have Progressive Conservatives anymore. We had Reform Alliances, Christian Reform Alliances, in
That's right.
tune to the right-wing propaganda from Project 2025 and the Orange Potato. So this has all been, this is like 20 years in the making, right?
Hey, I'm 40 years old, so I remember back when I remember back when the Reform Party, the Progressive Conservatives, were a different party before they merged.
Well,
And they're
Mulroney,
like, oh,
Mulroney would have been the only last true conservative that actually existed, was Brian Mulroney. And now Brian Mulroney's a liberal before he died.
no. Actually, they used to call them in Canada red conservatives and blue liberals. That was a thing back in the day. I remember that. That was a political talking point where you can actually belong to a party and accept other policies from other parties.
That's the way it always has been.
Back when people actually used to gather in places like Tim Hortons and stuff, you could talk about that. And that was
We're not
actually...
supposed to never talk about politics and religion. I think that was an advice that we should have never taken. I think that
I wish my parents had talked about politics with me, like I do with my kids. And if I hadn't, because I grew up being from Alberta, not Indigenous from Alberta, white person from Alberta. It was always conservative. Like,
Yep.
you vote
We're
in conservative. Like NDP was like, like my sister wound up marrying into a family that her father-in-law was actually an NDP in Alberta, in Edmonton. And
My grandmother worked with Tommy Douglas in Saskatchewan.
my sister, like her father-in-law was an MLA in Edmonton for NDP, and knew Rachel Notley married my sister.
So
At the time as a child, like I was like 19, 18, whatever else, grew up conservative, like because that's what we were taught, right? Like just Here's things in Alberta you were taught. Trudeau, anything with the Trudeau name, garbage.
Well,
And
here's the thing.
everybody always
Speaking about
thought
that,
Alberta was
that's an Alberta. That's an Alberta thing. So when Pierre Elliott Trudeau was actually senior, was Prime Minister of Canada, he wanted to run pipelines all the way from Alberta to Quebec and down Ontario, so he wouldn't have to deal with the Americans. He wanted to be the sustainable. It was called Petro Canada. Pierre Elliott Trudeau's ripoff is what they called it. Pierre Elliott actually had the right thing, but he had this thing going on with the FLQ, right? And he also had
up in Alberta. You burnt Trudeau.
My grandfather actually has a
I actually did my thesis in university on Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and there was a smear campaign. So when the Albertans were losing their jobs because Lockheed was fucking cutting the oil off and wouldn't allow the pipelines to go through to Quebec, and Leveque was blocking the pipelines in Quebec. When Pierre Elliott Trudeau showed up in Mission of BC giving everybody the finger, right? It's because they had smear campaigned him for the last, 30 days prior to him arriving because there was no social media. Pretty hard to find out what was going on in British Columbia, especially Mission, BC, from fucking Ottawa, Ontario, right? We're talking back in the day when there was no cell phone.
So Beaver politics, can I
Hard
mention?
and heavy in Alberta and British Columbia. Pierre Elliott Trudeau had the best idea then. If he had been able to get those pipelines through, we wouldn't be pandering to the orange potato like we fucking are now. We would have been more self-sustainable. We would have been putting out our oil to other markets rather than just to the fucking U.S. You can thank Brian Mulroney for that with free trade.
Okay, Beaver politics, there's like 3 things I want to talk about. But continue. Please finish your sentence.
Go.
Okay. First of all,
My name's Tamara, by the way. Happy Republic.
thank you, Tamara. Clifford, nice to meet you.
Clifford, are you from Alberta?
Yeah, I live in Dawson Creek, BC, but my family and my reserve is from Alberta. So here's what I'm coming at in terms of that. So Rachel Notley and Jordan Peterson are from Fairview, Alberta, which is 15 minutes away from my reserve. So I have a connection with them. So the biggest connection is when Rachel Notley won Alberta, one of my friends won her seat as one of her cabinet ministers. So we went to Fairview, 15 minutes away, to celebrate. And I met Rachel Notley that night.
Well, I know her.
And she's like, oh yeah, what's her name? I'm Clifford Testwich. She's like, Testwich, from Duncan's First Nations? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, I grew up with your uncle. I grew up with your family. I was like, yeah, that's great. And she's like, well, say hi to them, and I'm glad you guys are supporting us. And Jordan Peterson is also from Fairview, Alberta, too.
I was on a boat with Rachel Notley with my sister and them when they got married. Because my sister is married into a family of lawyers who are labor lawyers who are friends with Rachel Notley. And at the time, I'm telling you, I was young and I was conservative and didn't like NDP, didn't like Rachel Notley. I was like, is somebody going to throw over the boat?
Oh, that's funny. Do you know the reason why Rachel Notley at that time? One of the biggest reasons was her dad, back when he was a politician, was the only politician that would go to reserves, get a bottle of wine, sit on the back of like a horse and carriage, and just talk politics and drink with Native people. And no,
That's how Ralph Klein got elected too, right?
I'm not
well,
I'm
except for kicking homeless people.
person at all, but I'm also like I've always been conservative, right? And then my daughter's like, hey mom, like when my daughter got to the age of voting, my sons, all of them just voted conservative because I did, right? Because my parents did, so I did. And that was what they did. My daughter came one day, she's like, did you know, she's like, Mom, do you know that the conservatives like Jason Kenney and stuff, like they voted against women's rights? I'm like, what? For what? And she's like, let me show you. And because she took the time to look it up, right? Like I never did. I just did conservative because in Alberta, you were conservative if you were voted anything other than conservative. It would be you're against oil and gas, which is like Alberta and the whole like.
I just love how Albertans forget about farming and
My
agriculture.
daughter's like, Mom, she's like, I'm not voting conservative, just so you know. I'm like, okay, like you can vote however you want, like that's your choice. And she's like, did you know that all the conservatives voted against women's rights? I'm like, what? Like that's why, and then I looked into it, and then I finally as an adult, like having like being growing up, but finally as an adult having kids, and had to have my child who was old enough to vote. Took the time to look into the actual policies and stuff of each party and looking into each party. I'm like, ooh, yeah, no, like I'm not voting for somebody who's going against my daughters. Like I have two daughters. I'm not voting against their rights. Like I'm not voting against their rights. So that's
You know what? It's funny because I went back to university to get off like that $350 subsidy that I had to take from welfare every month for me being a single mom. So I went back to the University of Lethbridge when I was in my 30s. And I started with, basic general studies. And then I started taking political science and anthropology. And I ended up with an undergraduate, like it's an uncredited degree because as going back as a mature student with no high school diploma, you have to get a certain grade point average to get an accredited degree after you graduate. I didn't make it because it was my first year back in university. Being a single mom with one kid living with me, I didn't get the 3.9. I was down by 3.7. So I never got an accreditation. So I don't have an actual degree, but I went to school and still got the bills from student loans to, prove it. But anyway, I ended up with an uncredited, BA from the University of Lethbridge in political science. And that's when I started paying attention to science, political science.
I did, and I'm not that I'm an NDP supporter because I'm not. Like I'm not really big on the NDP, but you had a choice of either you vote or you don't vote. With Danielle Smith, I'm like, I'm not voting. No, I ain't voting for her. She was toxic, and I told my husband, told my son, stuff like that. I'm like, you guys can vote how you want because I would never tell my kids how to vote. But I'm like, she's like, and I called it lending my vote to the NDP because I just didn't want Danielle Smith in.
Well, let's be realistic.
And now I'm, you know what? I'm Carney. I'm Carney all the way. I'm like 100%
for Alberta. Danielle Smith, back when she was Wild Rose, is different than UCP Danielle Smith.
Yeah, what she's doing now is she should be like eliminated.
She's a fucking schnazi. Yeah. She's a fucking schnazi.
Even Jason Kenney, who I had originally voted for when Jason Kenney ran, I voted for him. I did because I thought he was good for Alberta. And he said when she got in, and he was still sitting in a parliament place, and then he decided to remove himself. He's like, you know what? This is going to be a shit show. Basically, is what he said.
She gave up all of her Wild Rose rights to be in UCP. Danielle Smith as a Wild Rose candidate, I would have supported.
And I told my son, like my son and I were talking today about her. And he's like, well, I didn't vote for her. I'm like, dude, you didn't vote. Like he's like my brother. They're conservative.
Yeah.
They're going to be conservative, but they didn't like her. So that instead of like for me, me and my daughter voted NDP. Like because I don't like Danielle Smith, I'm lending my vote. Is what I called it, lending my vote to NDP. Whatever else. My son and my brother just chose not to vote.
So they hypothetically voted for Danielle Smith anyway.
And then you can't complain. Like
well, no, they voted for Danielle Smith anyway. Not putting your vote in is voting for the other party. And I say that to people.
My parents have always told us, no matter how you vote, whatever you do, if you do not vote, you don't have the right to complain.
Yeah, that's been 10 times over. But again, like being apathetic and not voting means you're voting for the party that you don't want in anyway. Right? Because you're not putting your voice in. And like I said, I honestly, like, I don't like mandates. I don't like being told what to do. I think that we're Canadians and we have choices and freedoms and everything. But I think it's a civic duty to vote. And I think voting should be fucking mandatory because the fact that it's not a true democracy.
Is it Australia? It's mandatory? You have to.
So democracy comes from Greece, right? Greece was a true democracy way back, like long before, like in the 1600s. And they used to put a pebble and they'd have a little cafe in the middle of the town. And everybody had to put their, two people were running or three, put their pebble in each bucket. And everybody in that town lined up to vote. Every single one of their countries, that people don't even get that right. You
I
know, you
don't.
get to go and vote in Russia,
Like,
but you
if
know
you
you're
go,
never going to have a
I
voice.
don't get up for my sons for voting, but
if
my
you go even,
daughters, I'm like, go vote. Like, you have had women fight for you to be able to vote. And now I'm also like, this election, I'm like, you see what's happening in states? Eventually, women are not going to be able to vote in states. It's going to happen.
They can now.
okay,
If
so
your passport and your fucking driver's license do not match in the United States, you are no longer eligible to fucking vote.
Yeah. And
if
Even
you
if
go,
you
if you go back
go
further
ahead,
in
Clifford.
terms of like
Clifford,
Greece,
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. If you
No,
go
go
back
ahead.
even further with Greek, going towards the Romans, back then, as a politician, as long as you had power, you could do things, but you can be executed and fucking
Kick it out. Like that. It was like
no, afterwards, like, because
kind of.
you as a Roman, you're a military leader,
Yep.
but after that was done, you can be prosecuted.
Yep. Absolutely. But again, the only true democracy was if everybody votes. Like everybody in this town bitches about this and bitches about that and this and that. We have a population of 20,000 and 4,500 people voted.
but look,
Like even in the U.S. election, okay,
there
so
was
the U.S. election
half the
got that
United
fucking
States that
orange
was able to
potato,
vote.
right?
Vote.
77 million people fucking voted for the orange potato. No, 33% of their population, which is 498 million fucking people,
Half the population in the United States that was able to vote didn't vote.
didn't vote. 30% of their population, 33% of the total population voted, and 70% of that population voted for fucking Trump. So he got the popular vote. He got the fucking majority, but only 33% of 498 million people fucking voted.
Well, let's
And
look at
it should be mandatory.
like how many people are
Is
locked
it
up.
Australia?
Hold on,
Where it's
how
mandatory you have to
many
vote?
can vote?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Clifford.
How many people were what?
Yeah.
How many can vote as felons in the U.S.? How many people are locked up? That's
Right?
the
And how
problem.
many people actually are allowed to vote? Because if you have a felony, if you're a felon, right? If you've been charged with a felony, you're not eligible to vote in the United States. Like
That's right.
in Canada, it doesn't matter. Like you have a right to vote in Canada if you have an address, if you have a driver. Like everybody's allowed to vote unless you're incarcerated. That those are the only people that are not allowed to vote in Canada unless you're incarcerated at the time.
Under the vouching system.
I think in Canada, even if you're
You can actually
incarcerated, you're allowed
vouch
to
for
vote.
someone that's homeless to vote. That's the way it used to be. And guess who?
Canada, you can still vote if you're in jail. You still got to.
No. I'm saying who voted to change that under the.
It was
what
under Harper. When Harper
Yeah.
was when Harper brought back mandatory minimum jail sentencing and wanted to start
I'm
building
saying,
private prisons.
who was the person that tried changing that whole law under the Fair Elections Act? The bill that passed and got taken away. He's the leader of the Conservatives.
Yeah, Pierre Polyev. And then he was charged with election fraud.
Yep.
Just Polyev. He was charged with election fraud. And now he's got an agreement with Elections Canada for something because he pled guilty, so it's like a plea agreement in a criminal court. You know how you plead guilty and then you get, conditional sentencing and all these things? Same thing through Elections Canada. So Polyev shouldn't even be the leader of the fucking party, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what Oliver is doing too right now, going after Carney because of like the putting his whatever into
Investments into blind trust. Funny because Polyev's got investments with Fairfield Bank, whatever it's called too. They just found that Polyev's got investments with them too.
Well,
Did he put his stuff into blind trust?
I know that. But who's a politician that brought that law into power in 2006? It was Stephen
I
Harper.
think it was Polyev. Yeah, Polyev and Stephen Harper.
He voted for it.
Yeah.
To
Of
make
course.
sure that if you have any kind of like a potential,
Conflict of interest.
yes, you can put it into a blind trust.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
Stephen-
Stephen Harper has had that.
like Pierre Poilievre, because he's like, well, he's like, all like Carney's copying me, whatever else. Dude, you had your entire thing. You had glasses, suits, and all that stuff, and then you saw Trudeau being out with people, his sleeves rolled up in a t-shirt and jeans, and his hair not really styled up. And then all of a sudden, Pierre Poilievre is like not wearing glasses anymore. He's not wearing his suits anymore. He's like in his shirts.
No, like sorry, Beaver politics. Your name's Tamara, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tamara, you put the nail on the head because Pierre is doing exactly that.
I know. He has been groomed, for a better lack of term, by the Conservative Party since he was 14 years old, right? Reform Alliance Party. Let's make it clear. He was out selling, or not selling, signing up people for membership for the Reform Alliance Party when he was 14 years old for fun. He was
He actually had
a member of a writing
Propaganda?
association.
The propaganda of him?
Here's my question to a lot of conservatives: how does a career politician get a net worth of $13 million when you've done nothing but work for as a public servant?
with one bill in 20 years.
Voted, so.
Right? But yet the guy's worth more money than
So
He's
here's
a
my
high
son.
conservative.
This is my son who's still conservative. Said to me today, he's like, I said, like, Polyev, I'm telling you, like, vote how you want, because I would never tell my kids how to vote, right? But just so you know, like, Carney is like the economy. He's
banker.
oh, he's like, he crashed the British economy, whatever. And he's like, I'm like, well, Polyev, he's like, and what kind of jobs has Carney had? I'm like, Polyev Polyev worked at a newspaper, like he delivered newspapers. And my son's like, no.
Yeah,
He's like, this is what my son said. He's like, no. He's like, Polyev has had numerous jobs. They didn't work out, but he's had numerous jobs. And I'm like, what numerous jobs has he had? And he's like, I don't know, but he's had numerous jobs.
No, he doesn't. It took him 10 years to get his BA from the university.
You know how long it took me to
10
sit
years to
there,
get a 4-year
to sit
degree?
across from my son and not smack him across the face? He puts
You know what? I've got a 28-year-old son that still lives in my parents' basement that told me that he liked to pew every liberal he ever saw. And he was looking.
Mine, he's 28. And
Yeah, mine's 28 too. So they've been watching way too many YouTube.
it took everything for me to not go across the table and just.
Oh yeah, I can't even have a conversation with him because I just want to poke him in the eye. Meanwhile, I have to be. My son had cancer when he was 17, right? So I have to give him a little bit of leeway as to why he's like, but it doesn't excuse.
He's also my same kid who's like, I'm like, tell him about Daniel Smith. He's like, well, I didn't vote for her. I don't care. I'm like, well, you didn't vote. And he's like, no. He's like, I didn't vote for her, so it's like, she's not my
No,
problem.
mine doesn't understand civics. He thinks that everything's the federal government's fault. He doesn't understand that the federal government sets regulations and sends money, and everything else is under provincial and municipal jurisdictions.
And yet I don't get my daughter, who's like a year younger than him. She is why I don't vote conservative anymore.
Well, like I said, he was the
Mom, look at this.
He was
She's
the
like, Mom.
governor of the Bank of Canada, and then he went over and he was the governor of the Bank of the UK. And when Liz Truss started saying that Carney did all these things and Richie's whatever his name was, Liz Truss lasted 44 days as the prime minister of the UK. They ousted her because she had a budget that was so skewed and so stupid that they couldn't even figure out what the hell she was talking about. So Liz
My son
lasted
was
44 days.
my son was conservative, Pierre Poilievre, Danielle Smith shit. He's like Carney. He's like Carney crashed the UK.
No, he didn't. Brexit crashed.
See, here's the thing, and this is what I said to my son. Here's the thing. Here's your
We got-
problem.
we got-
You read the headlines. Like you didn't read the article. I'm like, you were raised better than that. Read the article. I'm like, if you read the article, you would know that Carney said, don't do it. Carney was against it. And they did it anyway.
I just want to make a talking point. You guys have time?
Go ahead, Clever. Sorry.
I'm sorry. What I want to talk about the last few minutes is like, the talking point where it's like, okay, the Liberals, Mark Carney, they're WEF. And so that's always been a big talking point for the last, couple of weeks that we found out about it. So when Pierre Pulver was part of it, he was part of the whole WEF. He took himself out of it. And so what are we talking about with like Reform Party IDU stuff? So Harper has spoken along with Carney to the WEF. So what is Pierre part of?
But all these people who are like WEF,
Yeah, he
people?
no. But he
You're a problem
the
with
IDU.
Trump being part of WEF.
No, but the IDU though, which
Right,
Harper is a big part of. He's the chairman, pretty much of it.
Yeah,
And so now Pierre Pulver is part of the IDU. So if we're talking about like WEF, IDU and WEF are the same thing. They're connected.
Well, let's make a point here too. Like when you look at the declarations of the conservative policies and declarations, First Nations are 112 down on the list, right under taking for transgender women out of sports. So that shows you exactly where the priorities are.
Well, look at Trump saying that he's not going to let that girl come, the girl from the France, the boxing girl. And she's
No.
100%
Armenian.
female. She was born
Armenian.
female. She's
Pierre
100%.
Oliver wants to change the name of Trans Canada Highway to the.
They're not going to let her come to. He's not going to let her
What?
come to the Olympics.
Are you kidding me? The Trans
No, no,
Canada
no.
Highway to what?
To the Men and Women Highway.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. The People's Highway. It'll be the person's highway.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like,
Trump is not going to let.
just not even.
Wait,
like,
the
I'm not
name,
like-
the name in your birth
That idiot
certificate.
at
The name
first,
in
like,
your birth certificate
you
is
explain
highway.
to me why you're heterosexual, and then I'll wait. You know, like it's genetics, it's DNA. Like you don't wake up one morning and all of a sudden you decide you're going to be gay. It just doesn't happen that way. A 3-year-old
Well,
kid.
actually,
needs to decide-
one thing
and I have a really hard time with this because I'll tell you a story. I have a cousin that was gay, or is gay, and he hid who he was because of my grandfather being a Mason and a huge bigot. So he married a woman. She was a lesbian. They moved to Toronto. They played Happy House, but everybody's wondering where the kids were and why they weren't having grandbabies. As soon as my grandfather died, they were divorced. My cousin now is married to a man who is a award-winning costume designer in the Lower Mainland and huge award-winning in Los Angeles. He made all the costumes for Deadpool and Wolverine and living his best fucking life. So I will advocate for people to
My
be who the
daughter's
fuck they want
best
to be
friend.
forever.
My
The
dog.
one thing I'll point out is like Elon Musk. He's got like what 14 kids now.
Yeah, and he's got one that is chosen to be who they are, and he's
But-
making a
I love
A
her.
lot of them,
I
a lot
love
of them were
my
in
daughter.
vitro. A lot of them in vitro, and you actually can choose the sex.
My daughter's best friend.
right. That's against the law, though.
Hmm.
Technically, you're not allowed to choose the sex of your child in vitro.
But he won with
My
Grimes
daughter's best friend was trying
to take control of her eggs, and he had 2 more kids with her. In vitro.
So he's just like making a whole bunch of minions for his little army. Ones that are going to sit there and tell Trump that orange potato that you're not the president, and wipe his little
Yeah, but-
nose all over his
You
desk
at least have
and
to-
get away with that shit.
You at least have to talk to your children, or spend time with them.
Well, he does. He drives that one around like a fucking like a mascot with him wherever he goes. Old X.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds like it's like a fucking human body shield at this point.
I was one of those people who was originally, when my daughter came home, this was like we're talking like 15 years ago, when there was the GSA at school, and she joined it. And she's like, this is my friend. These are my 2 friends. They're both gay, them. I'm like, I don't understand. I didn't understand what it meant. I didn't, I wasn't rude towards it. I don't understand what it means. And my daughter explained to me. And one of her friends, who was transgender, passed away. Because nobody would.
Well, you know,
Sorry.
there's also like asexual and non-binary.
Her
And
parents.
this is all stuff that we were afraid to talk about, like especially people who like a Gen Xer like myself in my 50s. Like for our generation, if you were even in any inclination of being a lesbian or bisexual or gay, you hit it. There was no speaking about
I
it. You
will
just
always
do not
be
talk about it.
pro transgender, because my daughter's friend passed away.
I've been pro whatever you want to be. Like I said, I'm a live and let liver.
I'm going to
Let
be.
people live their
I
life.
will- If you're gonna go against transgender people, get off my page. That's
Yeah,
how.
well, that's
Get
exactly
off
it.
my page.
You know how many people, like I said, if they just mind their own business and stay in your lane, and like I don't care what you do in your house or your bedroom, it's none of my business. As long as you're not harming anybody else or yourself, I don't care.
It's always like, why is transgender people bothering you now? They've been around forever. Why is it bothering
I
you?
had a guy stand in front of my.
I said it to people in my real life too. Like I've lost a bunch of friends in real life.
I mean-
Like, why is it bothering you now?
Yeah, 50 years, high school friends that are like
Yeah.
so bigoted and so schmatzies, and I just block them. I don't even block them. I just delete them. And you know the funniest thing is, they never even fucking notice. That's how important we are to them.
One of the favorite things
People have been
about
around
it-
for how many years? using women's bathrooms for how many years? And nobody gives a fuck? Like, because people don't look like, we don't go into a bathroom looking for, my problems with
Well,
women's
in women's bathrooms, they don't have urinals.
in the
In men's
90s.
bathrooms, they have urinals, so they're standing beside each other, like not in booths. Where us women have always had booths, right? Where men, they have open urinals. You go into a men's bathroom, you're not going to see a woman squatting in the urinal.
Well, do you not remember in the
Depends on what
like,
bar you go into.
90s, early 90s, women's bathrooms, there was no doors in the bathroom. Like there'd be a door in the men's bathroom. There was no door in the women's bathroom.
No, because we were doing all kinds of funky things going to the bathroom. Come on, let's be fair. Like, you know, there was all kinds of things going on in the bathrooms that wasn't peeing.
There was no doors in women's bathrooms. Nobody cared about
No,
that.
because they were, you know why? Because they were afraid that if somebody went in there, they'd be essaying somebody behind a closed door, right? Why they took the doors off women's bathrooms so that they could see into them to make sure that women were safe. If that
Yeah.
makes any fucking sense.
It
That's
does.
why, because men would just go
I
in
get
there.
it.
Go ahead, Clifford, sorry.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I get it. Like for dudes' bathrooms, like you go to like a how's it called, a rodeo. You get those big fucking bathrooms where it's like it's a big fucking sink, and you're just pissing.
Yeah,
Don't
like a
don't
big
let
brown
that-
sink in
don't
the middle of
let-
the room. Like a
If
big
you're a
drain.
person who takes time to realize who else is going to the bathroom in the same place, there could be men lined up in the bathroom where I have to go pee. If I have to pee, I just want to pee. Like fuck off. Just let me pee. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a child, an adult. I don't care if you're male,
I'm not in there to
female,
look at what's going on in the
transgender. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
Just let me
I'm not
pee.
in there to look at what's, yeah, again, like, I don't want people knowing what's going on in my bedroom more than I want to know what's going on in yours, right? Like, it's none of my fucking business. And I don't understand why
All the men who are concerned about women in bathroom stuff are probably watching transgender people on porn. They're
closet homophobes, or they're actually gay themselves.
they're putting themselves out live. They're
Not, you know, if you're that insecure with your own sexuality, you have a problem as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't have a problem
Do you
with my
girls
sexuality
remember
or who I
when they
am.
tried introducing those what the hell were they called? Like a filter to try to piss in men's bathrooms, it was like a thing that you.
people literally think like, and this is the American thing.
No, it was the European thing they tried to
That
introduce.
women, like men, are literally changing themselves to females, getting like boobs, like getting surgery to get boobs, and having surgery and stuff done to go into a bathroom to assault women.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
what did you really think?
You know what I said? You know what I said to somebody one time when they said, "Oh, well, you know," I said, "I can't add a dick to me, and I can't suck half my brain out, so why would I want to be a man?" No offense, Clifford.
I'm just saying, it sounds like a
That
lot
was
of
my
work.
response. I can't add a dick to me, and I can't suck out half my brain, so I don't want to be a man. I'm good, right? But again,
I saw a comment that my husband posted. Like my husband watched reels on Facebook. He's not on TikTok. He's watching these reels on Facebook. There's one. I'm like, oh god, I know that guy. It was,
Oh, there's a very Canadian thing on
that's the other,
he's
the
like-
bald
he's
guy
like,
that's got a big mouth.
comments. He's like, we don't need women. He's like, we don't need you. You guys are like,
That's what the Mayans said too after they sacrificed all their wives and
that's your
virgins.
second thought, whatever else. And he's like, you're not equals, but you're not like we don't not need you, but you're not equal to us. He's like, if we could explore ourselves, we would.
That's how the mines went
It
down.
would be unnecessary.
Exactly. That's what happened to the Mayans. When they had decided they were going to sacrifice all their women and all their virgins to the sun god, and they had 4 men standing around going, now what do we do? Like,
Well, I want to talk about something really Canadian right now because I
Okay.
just. So King Charles might be dying pretty quick.
yeah.
Bye.
Well, he's had
Yeah.
cancer. He's got cancer.
We just got him on our.
Anyways,
It's not like the monarchy's dying because William was right there, and then he got, you know. But yeah, he's had cancer, and then you know that's not something that we don't know about, but hopefully not. But again,
No, he just got hospitalized again. So,
again, oh
Yeah.
did
So
you see the whole thing with the Pope? Did you guys see that thing? Apparently, somebody posted a thing. I saw it on TikTok that the Pope came out and said, like, for all the Catholic churches in the United States to defy what Trump is saying, ignore what Trump is saying, like
Yeah,
whatever
and
he's
they
saying,
hate him for
ignore
that.
him. Like the Pope is like, we are not representing him. Whatever he's
No,
saying.
because he committed the sin of how it's called
Rapism.
when you feel sorry for somebody.
He has no empathy.
Yeah, the sin of empathy.
I posted a thing on my TikTok the other day of Trump when his Marla Maples, when he was married to Marla Maples.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his daughter who was like a couple of years old.
Yeah.
About her legs. And he's like, she doesn't have a mom's this yet, but might get that. I'm like thinking, like, dude, he is so obsessed with his daughters. Eventually, his daughters are gonna come out. And they're gonna be like, you know what?
To be perfectly honest,
They're gonna come out. And they're
would
gonna be
you,
like,
would you trust your
they're
daughter?
gonna say he was.
Would you trust your daughter with like Trump and
No.
Biden?
No.
I wouldn't trust him with either, to be honest.
Biden, I would trust him.
It's gonna come out.
He's
It's
a
not
bit
because
snippy.
his
He's a bit snippy.
daughters are.
But again, Trump might have ED too, and now and he's wearing diapers. So now maybe I would, because it's probably ED'd and diapered up, and probably now I might. But 25 years
He
ago,
probably
Whoever
should.
thinks of like I saw there was one guy when my niece was like she was like 2 and we went I had my son and I had my niece he's like this guy I went to high school with he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, good, how are you? And he's like, that girl, he's like, when she's older, let me know who she is. I'm like, get the fuck away from me. He's like, go the fuck away. She's 2. Like, you are
yeah.
and
I gotta tell you
but
something.
all these people are like, they're okay with Trump saying that about his kid. Like you talk about your daughters this way. Like, are you serious? Like,
Oh, you're watching the CBC. I've seen this already
Yes.
tonight.
So me and my grandpa. Okay.
Go ahead.
Me and
Let
my
him.
grandfather love these panelists. There's a few that we actually really like. They'll go back.
but like Trump, there was a
Andrew
video.
Coyne, he's a conservative. I actually don't mind.
Yeah. And there's Chantal Mara.
Yes,
Yeah, that's probably
we love her.
Chantal Mara, she's one of the best top political analysts in Canada. Well, I've met Chantal in Montreal a few years ago.
My grandpa,
I
my
wish
my,
her
gran-
would always
my,
back.
gr- my grandfather was like, I fucking love her, but I only discovered she's a woman the other day. I was like, and I was like, I love her
And your
too.
grandpa's an 86-year-old First Nations man. I love that. That's so great.
He's like, I fucking love everything she says. I just found out she's a woman the other day.
That's so cute.
And I laughed my ass
So
off.
you
I was
live
like,
with
oh
your
my god.
grandpa too- So you live with your grandfather and you take care of him. And whereabouts are you? You're in Dawson Creek, right?
Yes, I'm not working pipelining right now, so whenever I'm not doing that, I take care of my grandparents.
That's awesome. That's
Oh,
awesome. That's
actually,
what
wait, no. My husband's cousin was working on the pipeline, same as you.
my husband's actually a rig manager for a well servicing company in Grand Prairie, and they come into work in Dawson Creek once in a while. And yeah, but he's one of
Is
the.
that why you went to like when you came? Like you had your.
Well, actually, I worked on the Trans Mountain Pipeline.
in Marshy that you're coming to Alberta.
No, I went out to Saskatchewan to pick up some cow. And I was going to stop in Medicine Hat, and then I got sidetracked in Medicine Hat. Because Swift Current this way, and then you got to go through Medicine Hat, and I got all the Google Maps fucked me up so bad that a 9-hour trip took me almost 12 and a half hours.
I'll
Just to
tell you
get
guys. I'll tell you guys something really funny. I have an uncle that's a pro-Trump supporter who's native. He went to Las Vegas and he stayed at a Trump hotel. He has the hats, everything. I would love to walk with him with a Trump hat, just to see how people react. But anyways, I worked on the Trans Mountain Pipeline. That's a Trudeau bought pipeline. He's like, "Oh, Cliff, how you doing? Are you working on the transgender
My
pipeline
husband's
still?"
cousin. He was a safety manager. For the-
He's like, "Are you working on the transgender pipeline?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
That's hilarious. Well, you know what? That pipeline was paid for by our Canadian tax dollars, by all of us. And Alberta thinks they own it, and it's 200, barrels plus a day. That's a
I
lot.
had
Of money.
a really good
But here's
16
the
months
thing:
on
you
that.
grow up in Alberta, you get told equalization payments, like cancel them. And I thought, and I'm not kidding you, up until like probably 5 years ago, I thought the same thing. Like cancel the equalization payments, whatever else. And then realizing there's no equalization payments. It's off your federal tax.
Well, there's
If you want
five parts to it.
don't pay your federal taxes.
No,
Well,
there's five.
they get equalization payments sent back from the federal government for health care and for education, and all the money
That's
that is actually sent back to the provinces. So Alberta's not paying the federal government for
No.
fucking anything.
But
They're getting
Alberta
money from the
thinks
federal government for fucking health care and education. She got
But
money
I'll-
for PPE that she didn't use. She used that PPE money during COVID to balance her fucking budget. She's
No, that's
wasted
the same
$80
thing.
million on Turkish fucking
But here's
Tylenol.
the thing.
That
Here's the
bitch
thing.
needs to resign.
if you're Trudeau, you don't like Alberta. And that's truth.
Yes, he does.
No, but
That's a bunch
Trudeau,
of shit too.
Trudeau actually talked about like, hey, we're giving you a health transfer, we're giving you a social transfer.
Yeah.
You should be
Wanted to
using
give
it.
Calgary
But
a
here's
bunch
the
of money
thing.
to build housing, and Danielle Smith stopped him because she
Yeah.
didn't want the Calgary municipality to get the federal money for all that housing. Danielle Smith stopped
Oh
that.
yeah,
She
I know,
didn't
I know,
transfer.
I know.
She
The
didn't-
the entire premiers went against him when he was like, oh, actually, we're giving you this money for healthcare and social programs. Maybe you should be spending it. And you know when they do their big photo,
Dad.
well, when they have their big
Dad.
jerk off and have their photo ops, and all of a sudden it seems like David Eby is the one taking the picture because he's never in the.
Dad cut
photo
like
ops.
the whole thing with the oil and gas, and I don't know the whole story. 'Cause I didn't
They get so mad.
But-
They get so
but
fucking
right now,
mad.
You knew Trudeau. The name Trudeau is bad, and
In Western Canada, yeah.
it's against Alberta.
Because you were indoctrinated that from the time you were young because of Peter
Absolutely.
Lougheed and the
100%.
fucking conservatives in Alberta. Because Alberta didn't want to have to share any of the fucking oil with the rest of Canada. They wanted to
Growing
keep
up
it
in
all
Alberta,
fucking
you were
Canada.
taught that we paid for everybody else in Canada.
The fucking law. You know who pays for everything? The fucking First
Ontario.
Nations
Ontario.
Trust. Well,
That's
First
right.
Nations Trust pays for us.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a great big fat fucking lie that you've been fed your whole life, honey.
So,
I'm
but
sorry about that.
how
I know it now.
disingenuous?
I've learned it now. It's not a thing now. Like I don't vote conservative
I know
now.
you did. But that's a lie. Because if it wasn't for First Nations Trust, because of the resources that we
That's an Alberta thing. Like the name Trudeau in Alberta is like
well, that's because, like I said, gas and
been for 100 since Trudeau's dad was in place. It's been,
he wanted Alberta to actually share the whole country. In fact, if we would have done that, we'd all be super wealthy. The Heritage Fund that we were
What I'm
actually.
saying though
So
is,
back in the day, we were getting this Heritage Fund in Alberta. You get a check
No.
like once a year for a certain amount of money. The Alberta government was supposed to put money back from the oil and everything into this, Heritage Fund to actually make it so that Albertans would actually have some money from the oil.
People in
They
Alberta,
squandered
and
every dime of that.
I was one of them who believed like stop the equalization payments. Like just Alberta, like the premier, like when Jason Kenney was in, stop the equalization payments.
Well, you're not getting
I was gonna say
It's
how
not. And then I had to look it up.
disingenuous.
I had to actually look it up and realizing that there's no equalization payments that come from provinces. It's your federal taxes. So if you don't want to be part of that, don't
What
pay
you get
your
in the
taxes.
what you get at the pump and all stuff. I was gonna say how disingenuous.
But
How disingenuous is it that Jason Kenney came to run as an Alberta premier and say we're going to get rid of equalization when he was the motherfucker that made the current formula?
he was, yeah. But in Alberta, even before that, prior to that, we always thought like when you grow up in Alberta, you grow up knowing you think that Alberta supports the entire country. That's what you learn. That's what you learn is Alberta supports the entire country. Like we make it so that everything can revolve around us. Whatever else.
support our whole country.
And
And not any one whitey wants to admit that because, oh my God,
no,
they would have to.
when I had to take
and
5
they think-
minutes.
They think that they're paying for First Nations people from their money when they're not.
I'll put it this way.
Just 5 minutes.
I'll put it this way. First
daughter
Nations, no,
said-
yeah.
When my
Come
daughter
to
said, she's like, Mom, she's like, hey, just so you know, she's like, I'm not voting conservative. I'm like, what? Why? And we were on our way to vote. It's like, I'm not voting conservative. I'm like, why? She's like, Mom, did you not look up all this stuff about like like my daughter went into like everything. That she's like, did you know the conservatives? She's like, did you know Jason Kenney voted against women's rights? I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah.
No, he didn't. And she's like, yeah, he did, Mom. And she showed me. I'm like, And that was my daughter. It took my daughter for me to
Okay,
realize. And
on
now
this
I
one,
pay attention to every
agree.
policy, everything that happens, and every political thing. And my husband's like, "Why are you so political?" I'm like, "Because your daughter made me that way."
No,
Thank you.
because everything in my life revolves around politics. We just want to be not involved in politics. I hear so many people say, "I don't want to. I'm not involved in politics." Everything that we have in our lives revolves around politics, including the water that runs out of your tap.
It's
I
true.
kind of want to go on a little rant.
Go ahead, Clifford. Go.
Okay, so when it comes to like oil and gas, First Nations in Alberta, for example, we get like something like when we negotiate and we get a payment out like through oil and gas for what's going on underneath us, it's something like 0.06%. Like, can you imagine if Canada, if we did a European model, like so everything that gets extracted from Canada, Canada gets a cut, like a European model. Can you imagine if like it was even like 4 or 5% or anything like that?
Yeah.
Because even
Right.
with First Nations, with the low amount we get per reserve, we're talking like sometimes like millions.
Well, trillions. There's trillions of dollars that should be
You
in
know
the
how many times we get told in Alberta, like, here's
Well,
you don't get money
sorry,
from oil
hold
and
that
gas,
thought.
but the
Hold that thought.
indigenous people,
Yeah,
they own the land, so they get all the oil and gas, all the rights
we
for
get
the
fucked all.
minerals and stuff like that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
they do.
Just yeah, and they should. They should.
They're
They
done.
don't
Yep.
tell you why. They just tell you in Alberta.
Well, the treaties
And
state
it
that
tells you.
they get everything below 6 inches. So when a plow goes across, we're talking a plow from like the early 1900s behind an ox being pulled. Anything below that fucking plow belongs to the First Nations. That's about 6 inches of dirt. Anything below that, any mineral, any oil, any extraction, anything that comes out of that reserve is theirs.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
should be, and it should be.
And that
But in
was
Alberta,
with,
they didn't tell you that.
how
They
many
send you.
governments want to take that away?
Oh,
in Alberta, they have the right to do it.
uh,
In BC, it's difficult.
apparently.
And in
Versus
Ontario,
Hang on, stop for a sec. We can't talk about that. I just got a restriction on it.
I just canceled it. But it's because it's unceded territory, right? Don't worry about it. We're fine. But we're gonna actually end this right now on this network, and I'm gonna go over to my own live on my own because we can then do whatever we want because I don't care. But this is people politics, so I
Yeah,
have to be
because mine was because of I was talking about
whatever.
yeah.
But we'll just
my notification is like, yeah, hey man, you're too brown.
Did you get one too? Yeah, that's I got one that you're talking about too. I got one that mine came across as you're talking about too many brown people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically.
So anyways, we'll end Beaver Politics, and then we'll move over to my page, which is PixieV55 on my own page. I'm gonna take a little potty break and maybe take a smoke break, and then we'll be back in
Yeah, me
5
too.
minutes.
I added you, so find me
Yeah,
on
no,
your.
I do too.
Hang
Yep.
on. I gotta add you. I think I added you, Cliff.
I really appreciate
Thank
both
you.
of you coming up.
Oh, I
know
followed you
Sherry-
back. Yeah,
I know Sherry doesn't usually come up on lives, and usually not even.
I don't.
But thanks for coming up on my live. I appreciate it. And Clifford,
me
you
too.
I think we were on Treaty 6's one night too, where I think we kind of like mixed up on a Treaty 6, which I really
That's how my algorithm found you.
you know
Okay,
what?
we're going into your live. I'm up.
Okay,
My
so
And the
Five
funny part,
minutes?
the funny part is I'm on Nigerian TikTok. A
You
lot
have
of
to
it.
show me that.
I'm
I
not
want
gonna
to
lie. I'm on the medication thing
You're
where
like Clifford. You should find a Nigerian wife. I'm like,
We'll find you a First Nations wife. All right, we'll be off. So good night, everybody. We're back. I believe tomorrow we have Poly Talk going on at 6 o'clock tomorrow night on Beaver Politics, and we'll be back on my page in 10 minutes over on Pixie V55 on my own live because we're gonna turn
which
this
one
one
are you
off.
going on to?
happy tariffs.
My own live page. Give me 5 minutes. I'm just gonna go live on my own page. This is Beaver Politics. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I gotta pee and that's it. And then we'll be back.
Yeah, me
But on
too.
my own page. We'll take
If
a
not, I
break.
don't talk to you. Happy tariffs.
Happy Terrace.
Tariffs.
Hey, hey. Good night, everybody.